What is going on, people? We are back for another episode of the MMA Podcast. We were in Las Vegas for UFC 187. There live in the MGM Grand. We'll be breaking that card down. Two titles on the line. We had Chris Weidman defend the middleweight belt, and Daniel Cormier, DC, win John Jones stripped 205 belt. We're going to be breaking down that card. Also going to be previewing next weekend's card in Brazil. Thiago Alves taking on Carlos Condit in the main event there. A couple bits of news to break down. Bendo staying at welterweight. A very distasteful comment from Bitch Correia to Ronda Rousey, and more. Let's do it.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
Lenny
Jake,
Hart,
that was cute, man.
Lenny Hart, a true MMA legend, giving us the classic call. Follow her on Twitter at Lenny Hart, and that second voice you hear is coming from Guam. I don't even know what continent Guam is a part of. It's its own damn continent. It's Davey Boy. He's on Twitter, DAVEI_BOI. What the fuck is going on, buddy?
Hey, what's happening, Jake from the MMA Podcast? How you been, man?
I'm good, man. It's been a wild week. Spent 5 days in Vegas with my buddy, the Westland Eagle, on Twitter at Westland Eagle AH. We attended UFC 187, and boy, motherfucking howdy, was that a good card. Jesus Christ.
Oh, great googly moogly on that one.
Great googly moogly.
Well, actually, I got some questions about that one. I think for like any viewers that are listening, actually, just about the whole venue, like, the road to, I guess I'd say the road to like UFC 187 for like any fans that get there earlier and stuff like that. Package deals, whatever, But before I even get to that, I just want to give out some shout outs to some people. My MMA family, Jen Adams, Lindsay, Bandit Octopus, Pete,
love you, Jen.
Kobe Papi, the Cohiba Papi, actually.
He called in last month, right? That was the Papi?
Yeah, that was him. He was the one that was talking about the John Jones thing. Yeah, that was our last podcast too, I think. Yeah, the Loso Rocks. I got my boy Otis, and then shout out to the Keyboard Warriors, E-Law, Aaron Robbins, Fred Kirby, Nicky Nick. And then also Team MMA for Life. Anybody listening on that one? Hashtag Team MMA for Life. What up?
What up? And you do make a good point. He called in, I guess, 3 or 4 weeks ago, which was the marathon show, the Dada 5000 show, which I have to thank anyone who listened to that whole thing. I have to thank Davey. I think we hit like 3 hours in 30 minutes or more than that. I looked back, and it was the longest episode ever, which I actually did do one podcast since, and I'm not going to lie. This is the last month the MMA Podcast has been slacking a little bit. We did the marathon show, then we took a week off, mainly because I planned to do a show with Alan, and he bailed on me, and I was like, oh, well, I'll do a show with Ross the next day. And Ross, I don't want to say Ross bailed on me, but he was a couple hours late, and I fell asleep, and it just didn't end up working out. But then we did the marathon show, took that week off where things just didn't work out. Then I did a quick solo show, like an hour maybe, and we were going to do a show last week on the road trip to Vegas with myself and Alan, but we just couldn't really figure out the audio, plus our conversations driving to and from Vegas from Denver were way too obscene to ever see the light of day. Alan actually flew into Denver, and we both made it's about 750 miles from Denver to Vegas. And I am telling everyone listening, It is the most spectacular one-day drive a human being can make. I mean, you start in a big city of Denver, drive through the Rocky Mountains, and the east side of the Rockies are actually a lot different than the west side. You have, these giant snow-capped peaks on the east side, and the west side, it's a lot less steep. You have these giant canyons. Honestly, it looks like China or something. Just more stone and snow on the east side, and more water and hills and trees on the west side. And then you hit Utah, which, Jesus Christ, the mesas and the red rock and just these giant towering rock faces everywhere. It's amazing. And then you go through the desert of Arizona and Nevada. If you ever have the option to drive from Denver to Vegas, I would say take it, because the entire time you're just going to be just gawking at the incredible views. I've done it 3 times now, and I would gladly do it a 4th.
Yeah, man. Well, let's actually talk about that. I mean, you were talking about the shows. You were talking about the shows that you're on, the live shows, especially in Vegas and stuff. Now, for myself, I do consider myself a hardcore MMA fan. I mean, outside the UFC, I mean, Dream Era, Pride, Deep, the Korean promotion over there, Affliction. And when I see, I consider myself just trying to know all fighters and just fighting in general, just MMA. But I've only been to one show. The only show I've been to was the UFC in Seattle. It was their first show. But I mean, it was my home state anyway. I don't know if they had any fan expos or anything like that. But as for you, I mean, obviously UFC 187 was a big card. UFC, they were hyping it up. They had two championship fights. They had Cowboy Cerrone on there. They had Travis Brown, they had Arlovsky. The card was stacked. This card, by far,
very deep.
I think throughout the whole year, after the Time Is Now campaign and stuff like that, but this card right here by far was the best card for the year of 2015 as we speak. But as for any fans, Jake, what is it like, what is it like going to Vegas? Because I'm assuming that you would get there a few days early and stuff like that. What are the things that
for sure
anybody? Yeah, what are the things that anybody could do, knowing that they're going to that UFC 187 card? What are the things that you can do down there?
It's funny. I'm a hardcore too, but I didn't really get into the UFC till UFC 101. That was the first card I watched live. And I haven't been going to live shows since 2 years ago. I've been to 5 UFC shows now. 1 Glory show I did press at, and 1 RFA show I just went to locally. And my first one was UFC. All 4 pay-per-view cards I've gone to have just happened to be giant cards. My first one was UFC 167, which was that St. Pierre versus Johnny Hendricks fight, which is wild because of the 4 guys on the main event and co-main event, only 1 has fought since then. You have Rashad Evans, Chael Sonnen, and GSP, all who have not fought since UFC 167. It's pretty wild. But I saw 167 back November 2013. I went back last summer for the International Fight Week, UFC 175 in the TUF 19 finale, which, Penn being my favorite fighter of all time, I cannot get that card out of my head soon enough. So I went to 167, 175, the TUF 19 finale, and since Penn and Chael retired, Cormier has sort of turned into my favorite active fighter, so I really wanted to make it to Vegas for 182, and I was there, disappointed. It was funny. Every UFC card I had been to had ended very disappointing leading up to this weekend. I went to 167, which was a letdown because Chael, who I love, got finished. And everyone thought Johnny won that fight, and GSP ends up getting the nod. So that was a fight you sort of hung your head leaving. I guess 175 wasn't that disappointing, but, Ronda finishes it in like 7 seconds. And then Weidman wins a close fight, even though he won for sure. Penn gets retired at the Tough 19 finale, and DC loses a pretty handy 50-45 at 182, but 187, oh my God, it sold. But getting back to what you asked, I would say you for sure want to show up Wednesday or Thursday, because typically this is how it goes. Wednesday, you'll have the open workouts, and they'll usually do it, at huge events like a 182 or a 187, or coming up UFC 189, which you bet your fucking bottom dollar I will be in Vegas for. July 11th. Buy your tickets now, folks. If it's a big fight, they'll open it to the public. If it's a smaller fight night card, they might just do media only for the open workouts on Wednesday and the press conference, which goes down Thursday. I believe this weekend they did the open workouts in the little open area near the sports book, and they did the media day in a little studio area close to the Grand Garden Arena, which it's a while. The MGM Grand, which most big fights go down at, whether it's the UFC or boxing, it's difficult to explain the MGM Grand to somebody who hasn't been there, because it's not just a hotel. It's more like an indoor theme park. You literally could walk around the MGM Grand for hours and just keep seeing new things. They have an indoor club, the Hakkasan, which has guys there regularly, top EDM guys like Tiesto and Calvin Harris, if that's your sort of thing.
Hardwell, yeah.
Okay. They've got a 16,000 seat arena, which 3 weeks before UFC 187 they had the largest boxing event of all time, Mayweather versus Pacquiao. That was in the MGM. And it's like you have the check-in lobby and a station for a monorail which goes up and down the strip, and casino machines, slot machines fucking everywhere, card tables fucking everywhere, a sports book that is giant, it's like 10 stories high, screens as far as the eye can see, and chairs for folks to watch. A line of top class restaurants leading to the Grand Garden Arena, and a giant conference center. They did the weigh-ins Friday at a ballroom attached to the center. It's literally just like an entire city block, but inside, and restaurants and tourists and casino machines and lights as far as the eye can see. It's really wild, man.
Oh, wow. So you were down there, obviously. I'm assuming it's called the Fan Expo. I'm just going to call it that. But, okay, what kind of fighters were there? And, did you ask any questions or anything like that? Autograph signings? Or did they have a fan Q&A like they usually do? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I tried to go late, and I ended up not going. It was sort of a funny story. Weigh-in day, they'll open the doors around. It sounds like you're doing something in the background there. You might
my bad.
want to mute up. Yeah. They'll open the doors around 12:30. Let folks take their seats, then do a Q&A, which you for sure want to be a part of the UFC Fight Club if you do want to do the whole weekend of events because sometimes the Q&A will be open to anyone, and sometimes they'll only be open to Fight Club folks. I wanted to see the weigh-ins, but I didn't want to see the Q&A. Nothing against Luke Rockhold, just I don't know. I've seen a lot of interviews with him. I'm not really trying to show up at 1 o'clock and wait 4 hours for the weigh-ins that start at 5. And Alan texted me like an hour and a half before the weigh-in started, right when I was getting ready to leave my room at the Hooters to cross the street and walk over to the MGM, which is very close. And Alan says it filled up. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, the conference room filled up, so I'm a good, 20-25 minute walk to the ballroom at the MGM where they're doing the weigh-ins. Pardon me. So I'm like, Alan's saying it already filled up, so fuck, I guess I'll just stay and chill here and watch the weigh-ins on a feed. And then like 45 minutes later, he says, no, it isn't full, man. I'm like, dude, you just said it filled up. So it was a little bit of a miscommunication there, but I actually wasn't there live for the weigh-ins. I was there live for the event, obviously, at the Grand Garden Arena. But, the weigh-ins, I don't know. I'm down to show up maybe 30, 45 minutes, an hour before the weigh-ins to see the guys weigh in. But I'm not trying to wait at the doors and have the doors open at noon and sit in a chair for 5 hours just to see my favorite fighters step on a scale. So, in most cases, it won't be that hard to wait in line and go see a weigh-in. But this was obviously a very stacked card with a lot of hype around it.
Was there any not like Q&As, but you're talking about like open workouts or maybe autograph signs and stuff like that? Was there any fighters over there that like kind of caught your eye, maybe ask some questions or anything like that?
I'm trying to think of the fighters I saw and chatted with. We actually got to Vegas Thursday afternoon, so we weren't at the open workouts or the presser. But just walking around the MGM, you're bound to bump into some UFC folks. Like, it's funny, when I was walking to the presser for UFC 167, I just happened to, when I left my room and stepped into the lobby, I had a nice 5-minute walk and chat with Bert Watson and asked about his job and how stressful it was. And Bert was so one thing that's really cool is most any UFC fighter you bump into will be cool as fuck. I mean, I was standing near the elevators at the MGM for 167, and all of a sudden someone who sees me wearing my Denver Bronco shirt says, "Hey man, are you from Denver?" And I look over, no lie, it's Brendan Schaub. And I'm like, yeah, man, I am. And he's like, fuck yeah. And we, sort of did a fist bump, and he walked away, which it was funny to me how of all the fighter interactions I had, only he was the one who got my attention, and it wasn't me bugging Lawler or someone, but yeah,
that's kind of crazy, and
all of these guys are super nice.
Yeah, sorry about that, but you mentioned Brendan Schaub's name. I'm like, oh man, maybe I should just give this guy a chance because I kind of bash that guy. He's, kind of going off subject and stuff like that, but he actually does have an awesome podcast with a fighter and a kid. And he's doing things outside of MMA to make himself successful. So, it's just, I don't know. I think I need to give this guy another shot. I need to figure out if this guy can win me over.
Aside from the MMA podcast and the Word on the Street podcast and the FRB show, The Fighter and the Kid is one of my favorite shows with Brian Callen, Brendan Schaub, Evan the Beard. It's very, very Funny show.
Whoa, Jake. Whoa, you got some nerve
Having the
on that
beard.
one, buddy. What about the Chael Sonnen You're Welcome podcast, bro?
Oh
Come
my
on
God!
now.
I apologize to
there,
Chael,
buddy.
but hey, maybe when Chael gives our show a shout out, we'll give his show a shout out.
You hear that, Chael? Give us a
Shots
shout out.
fired. But yeah, it's funny. I saw Joe Sterling, super nice guy. He is one of the nicest fighters. Just talking and taking pictures with every fan. It's funny, signing autographs used to be a giant thing, and it's sort of gone from signing autographs, but now the thing that most fans want are selfies. So you will see fans, a lot more fans going for the selfie as compared to the autograph. I actually saw Rafael dos Anjos leaving the arena after the event, and he kept walking, and literally fans were like cycling into standing next to him and walking with him to get that selfie with him. I saw Dos Anjos. I actually saw Ryan Bader literally maybe 5 minutes before he got in a fight.
How big is he in real life?
He is he's a thick bitch. He's not necessarily that tall. Like I've seen a lot of fighters like Chael, where it's just like, damn, he's taller than I thought. Just big. Like Ryan seemed a little shorter than I imagined, but dude, homie has a set of shoulders on him. He is a thick motherfucker.
Yeah. Okay. And just going back, you were talking about Aljamain, the Funkmaster, stuff like that. Shout out to him. You should follow me, bro. First off, Trucks should follow me. You should follow me too. But anyways, last thing I heard about him, he actually went through hernia surgery. He's going to be out for like 4 weeks and stuff. But I bring up his name because, like, legitimately, like, we talk about, like, we hear about, like, top MMA prospects like 2014, 2015. Aljamain is on top of that list legitimately, and hopefully, I just hope that, like, he got the respect that he should deserve after being Mitsugaki, But shout out to him. I just wanted to bring that up. But,
really quickly on Sterling, two things. One, his surgery has actually been postponed a week or two because the doctors still aren't exactly sure what's wrong with him. They know it's a hernia, but no. That was the initial report, and I'm just saying this because, like, a few hours ago, I saw a post from him on Instagram, so he'll probably be back in it by fall. But in him, I see like a 2012, 2013 TJ Dillashaw, someone who is making leaps and bounds between each fight. Dillashaw would make a giant step between every single fight. And I see Sterling getting crisper and crisper, and I think he's really going to be a threat for whoever has the bantamweight belt come 2016.
Okay, I completely agree with that one. I think a lot of people, for some reason, feel like they're sleeping on him. Like, I don't hear him in, like, a lot of interviews. I think I heard him once on I heard him on Stand and Bang Radio. Shout out to Stand and Bang Radio, Fred Kirby and Aaron Robbins on that one. You guys had an awesome podcast. That was an awesome interview too, but doesn't take an effect of, Jake from the MMA Podcast interview with Aljamain Sterling. But I just want to throw that out there. The other
we chatted with him before he was in the UFC.
Oh yeah. But my other question is this now, like, just moving along, okay? Yeah. Again, like, I've only been to one event. It was in Seattle, and, like, I know when I was there, like, you could just feel the fucking energy there. You could just feel the climate there. It's just like, it's something completely different. Watching it live, and, like, I had nosebleed seats, but I still
was it Johnson Moraga?
Yes, yeah, I was there for that one, and cool. Like, I was so fucking amped just watching. I mean, the card itself. I mean, was I really too keen about the main event? I mean, yes and no. I mean, Josh is from Washington State. Yeah.
That was that horrible Rory versus Jake Ellenberger fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that was so terrible.
It was.
Lawler KO'd some bum.
Yeah. But, I mean, just, like, moving along, I mean, just watching it live and stuff like that versus watching it from your home, you get a different feel of energy, and you got people over there to chit-chat with you and stuff like that, converse with people, just talking to fans about MMA. And I thought, like, I knew a lot from doing my research and stuff like that. Like, these guys are, like, on some next-level shit, like MMA Underground shit. I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, I need to start going on those forums and just reading some of the shit that they say. But
MMAplayground.com.
Yeah, but moving along though. I mean, what was the energy? You were there live.
Yeah.
What is the comparison of watching it live for you and watching it, on a flat screen?
I've since watched the pay-per-view, and maybe one thing you couldn't glean from watching it as compared to being there, at least for 187, there were so many Brazilians there. It was fucking insane. More than any tap out shirt, more than any affliction shirt. You know what I saw more than fucking anything?
Yellow and green.
Yellow Brazilian jerseys, yellow soccer Brazilian jerseys, and flags, and I mean man, during the Vitor Chris fight, that really was the fight that all the Brazilians were there for, and you could feel the anxiety in the room.
Damn, dude. Okay, so like from start to finish, like overall though, I mean, you being live at UFC 187, I'm assuming you were there for like the Fight Pass. I mean, if anybody is listening to this, you got UFC Fight Pass, stuff like that. So you had the Fight Pass cards, then you had the Fox Sports prelims cards, and then you had the pay-per-view live event. So like I'm assuming you were there from start to finish. What was the energy like from start to finish for you?
It's funny. Most events I'll try and watch start to a finish, but this one I actually chilled in the room until maybe halfway through the Fox Sports prelims and then rolled over. I pinched a nerve in my back like a day before the drive from Denver to Vegas, and sitting in my car for 11 hours. Dude, Thursday and Friday, my fucking back was so fucked. I actually was going to go to a Rogan stand-up show at the MGM on Friday, and I just couldn't do it. I was like, my back was so fucked up. Saturday, or Friday, I probably should mention, I drank an ungodly amount of Jameson, woke up Saturday, went to the UFC Stone Cold Sober first fight I've ever been to. Most fights all have a few beers. I think UFC 175 I was pretty trashed at, but this is the first fight I was just, completely stone cold sober. Actually wasn't bad. I was thinking like, man, I should have a few beers, but being clear for the entire card, I mean, it wasn't horrible, but yeah, this one I showed up, I believe, what was the fight I caught the end of when I walked in? I believe it was the Dong Hyun Kim card, which shout out to the Westland Eagle, seeing Kim get a very nice third round arm triangle choke against Josh Berkman.
See, you know what? That was your problem right there, Jake. I mean, not being drunk and stuff like that, but drinking Jameson. Ugh, dude, you're disgusting, bro.
I drank so, like, it started off as like, yeah, I'm in Vegas, I got this bottle I'm gonna drink, but my back started really bugging me like that evening, and it turned in from like drinking for fun to drinking to like make the back pain go, and it just, dude, I got KO'd late in the 5th round by the damn Jameson.
Oh, that's your problem right there. Just drinking Jameson. Oh, so disgusting.
That is top shelf Irish whiskey, my friend.
Yeah, no, I got you. So, like, but just going back, so you start from the Dong Young Kim fight all the way till the main event, until close and stuff like that. Just like, I mean, what was the energy like on there?
The energy. The Dodson and Benavidez fights, not gonna lie, it was pretty flat. The fans already, most fans there aren't fans like you and me, and most fans who listen to the show. They're not really that hardcore an MMA fan. They're just trying to get trashed and wear their tap out shirt and party it up and scream. So most of these fans weren't really pumped to begin with for the flyweight fights, and the fact that they both went the full 15 minutes. Definitely in the second and third rounds of both of those fights, you had maybe like a quarter of the crowd paying attention. But then when we got into the fun stuff, the Arlovsky-Brown fight blew the roof off the fucking arena. The Cerrone fight, the crowd was getting a little listless in the second round, but when the finish came, the entire crowd was like, what just happened? And then we watched.
Yeah, let's try to say some of that for breakdown, recap.
Yeah. Probably, the most notable thing was the Weidman-Belfort fight, when it's maybe a 50-50 split, which I saw a similar thing for UFC 167 when there were a shit ton of Canadian fans there for GSP and Rory. There were raucous chants of "Ooh, vai morrer! Ooh, vai morrer!" which is Portuguese for "you're gonna die," that were going up against chants of "USA, USA." And whenever you started hearing the "Ooh, vai morrer" chants come, you would start hearing the USA. And when Weidman won, the mics picked it up a little bit, but there were very, very loud USA chants coming from the fans. And I looked around and I saw Brazilian fans literally in tears over Vitor getting finished in the first round.
Damn. I would love to. I would just love to hear the utter silence of all those Brazilians. I do have a question for you, because you did bring up the Brazilians. Okay, so I watched this live on pay-per-view and stuff like that, and then like I can't remember which fight it was, but you hear like a loud boo and that Brazilian chant come out, and next thing you know, I think Rogan said it on live, like, "Oh, Conor McGregor's here." What was that like for you?
It was funny. Looking around, the one thing I thought was Conor McGregor has all of these Brazilian fans in his back pocket. This is exactly what he wants. He wants them to boo him. He wants them to hate them, because you know what? Whether you love him or you hate him, you're still going to buy his fights. He's going full Mayweather, making him hate him. And I don't want to sound xenophobic or racist at all here, but my God, Brazilian fans, look, I have met a lot of fans from Brazil who are really nice. The guy who sat in front of me, actually, one of the nicest guys ever, wore a yellow Brazil soccer jersey. But some of these Brazilian fans are just so fucking annoying and loud and disrespectful. They have a thing at the MGM where, say you want to go take a piss or buy a beer and the fight starts and you want to get back to your seats, they won't let you in the aisles until the round is over, as a courtesy to fans. You don't want folks blocking your view in the middle of a round. So I'm standing at a section waiting to go back to my seat. The usher is literally holding a mini stop sign saying, "Stop, you will be allowed to go to your seat at the end of the round." And this fucking guy with shaved, oily arms, this Brazilian dude with a whack-ass haircut, like, shoulders me out of the way and tries to shoulder the usher, too. And she's like, no, stop. He's like, I'm going to my seat. And it's like, do you see this crowd of people waiting? Do you see the stop sign? Do you see any of this? No, you're just... an annoying ass dude, and there were a lot of those sorts of fans coming from the Brazilian fan side. Not to say there aren't Americans like that, because I literally had, walking out of the arena, this broad-shouldered, that's all I'll say about her, white chick, just shoulder check the shit out of me because I was in her way for no reason. I mean, there are some very rude Americans too, but something's a little fucked up with your culture when your go-to chant, or your two go-to chants, are faggot, 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 and you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die.
Jesus, man, like that. Oh man, that'd be so awesome to be in Vegas for that show. All right, so like last question, and then we gotta get. We're almost at like an hour in this podcast, and you're telling me
35
like,
minutes in.
Hours. Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah, we've been ranting about this one. All right, main event. The main event. Okay, lights go dim. You know, fire's coming out there and stuff. You know, you got Anthony Johnson, Daniel Cormier. Obviously, even before, like, seeing it live and stuff like that, you know, we get the hype, we get the video replay or the video hype of the main event and stuff like that. What was that like for you to watch the main event from, like, before the walkouts, seeing the hype, and then the walkouts to the finish?
Cormier got a lot of boos, a lot of fans. Just he rubs a lot of folks the wrong way. I'm not sure exactly why, but I would say
I could see that though. I could see that.
I would say maybe 2/3 of the crowd was Rumble and 1/3 for DC. The walkouts, man, it you know, both walked out to the same artist, which I thought was sort of funny. They both came out to Lil Wayne songs. The fight starts, and you know, most fight, you know, I want to say maybe 70% of fights, I'm not really rooting hard one way or the other. I'm more rooting for a very close fight, you know, like Benavidez, Moraga, Arlovsky, Brown. I could give a shit who wins, but Daniel Cormier and Anthony Johnson, like I mentioned, you know, Cormier is my favorite active fighter. And when that thunderclap came in the first round and AJ landed a bomb on him, I got really worried. But after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing. A lot of boos, a lot of fans around me who seemed to not understand the sport, booing what Cormier was doing, which if you watch the pay-per-view, just look at Anthony Johnson after the second round and tell me that Cormier didn't do anything to him. Johnson could barely talk. Johnson was so out of breath and worn and tired and ready to give up that you knew the fight was going to end in the third round, and it was going to be DC getting his hand raised. So, you know, the fans booing what Cormier was doing was a little annoying. But I mean, you know, I'm not going to let some uneducated fans ruin my UFC experience. It was awesome. When Cormier dropped the John Jones line, the arena lost their shit. The speech by Johnson too was very, very good. I don't know. It was just a really satisfying card.
All right, so like that's pretty much like all my questions on that one, man. I mean, the only reason why I bring that up and like start off like this podcast first, because like you know, for a fan's perspective who's never been to a live card or anything like that, again, it's completely different, especially when you have a card like this in Vegas. Like I guarantee you, like As a matter of fact, I know they were playing trailers of McGregor and Aldo. Like, who's not going to want to watch that fight live? How fucking cool is that fight going to fucking be, you know? Like, that same moment, that same moment with that card, hyping that card, 187 that is, I think McGregor and Aldo is going to fucking tear the roof off too in Vegas. So, but going back, I mean, for a fan's perspective, who's always, watch, either at a bar or on a flat screen in their homes and stuff, like, that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up, because, like, I've never been live at an event in Vegas, and, like, I can imagine, like, the things you could do, like, on a Wednesday over there and stuff like that, the open workouts, the Q&As, all that stuff, just building up to the card and stuff like that. Like, I can imagine what it's going to be like when McGregor and Aldo card comes up pretty soon, and then you have all these Brazilians, all the Irishmen and women there, and plus, like, all the hardcore or casual MMA fans, the Americans, I can't leave all the Americans out, but, like, that is going to be off the fucking chain.
And speaking of, it's funny you mention it, because just yesterday I booked my Spirit flight. I land in Las Vegas Wednesday, July 8th. I fly out Tuesday, July 14th. International Fight Week, UFC 189, Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo. I will be there. I'll be staying at the Hooters Hotel across from the MGM. Tweet us and I'll buy you a cold beer. And yeah, two things. If you're staying in Vegas, you can stay at the MGM for 2 or 3 times as much and have a nice modern room, or you can just walk across the street and save a shitload of money. The Hooters, you know what? It's not the best place in the world, but the rooms are clean, albeit a little outdated. They look like they were designed in like the 90s, and they still have tube TVs in them. But you've got a sports book downstairs, a 24-hour bar that serves Hooters wings, a casino, cards, whatever you want in Vegas. I never gamble except on the sports book on Saturday. But A, stay at the Hooters, and B, if you really want to save money on the tickets, I've done the same thing for 175, 182, and 187. And I'll probably be doing the same thing for 189, which is you wait until the day of and you buy tickets on StubHub or Vivid Seats. You'll probably need to go drive and pick the StubHub seats up, because StubHub does pick up, but it's only 2 or 3 minutes away. For 182 and 187, and for 175 for that matter, Fight Week, the cheapest tickets are going between $300 and $400 all week. The day of the fights, the sellers get nervous and just sell them for whatever they can get. And I've gotten seats to each event for about $100 for all 3.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, dude.
I got my 187 tickets. I believe, it was like $300 all week. I think I got my seat for $93.
Damn. All right, listeners. Hopefully you heard that one. But now I'm going to switch gears on this one, because I actually kind of took over Jake's show and stuff like that. He's actually the host. So
hell yeah.
Now just moving along, I'm going to get us back to Jake. We're going to break down UFC 187, the card itself and stuff like that. So sorry.
No. It's all good. Let's start with the prelims, as we always do. UFC Fight Pass. And Fox Sports 1. I think here, let's start with the first 3 and then break down the last 3. The first 2 being on Fight Pass. Justin Scoggins with a decision over Josh Sampo. Pretty one-sided. Islam Makhachev against Leo Kuntz. Islam wins a second round rear naked choke. And Colby Covington with a one-sided decision over Mike Pyle. These three winners, Justin Scoggins, Islam Makhachev, and Colby Covington, all I think have very bright futures. Scoggins could be a top 5 flyweight. The guy's lost twice, both fights that he could have won. And he's getting better and better and better. I mean, he has a really sound striking. If he can work a little power into his game, I mean, I put him at the same level as a John Moraga, maybe in a year or two, up with Dodson and Benavidez. Islam Makhachev, I'm not sure how you say his last name, but he could be one of these guys like a Habib Nurmagomedov who just comes to the UFC and starts to steamroll folks with his top level judo. He's fighting with Habib at AKA in the Fight Spirit team. His trainer is Habib's dad. So he's training with killers, and he could be a ranked lightweight as early as 2016. And Colby Covington, a former, I guess, college roommate of John Jones, 8-0, has really impressed with his wrestling. And the dude has fucking finishing skills too. Before his decision over Mike Pyle, had won his last 3 fights by sub. 2 of those being in the UFC. So I see very, very, very bright futures for Scoggins, Islam, and Covington.
Yeah, that Colby Covington Mike Pyle fight, I was actually rooting for Mike Pyle because he's still he's part of the UFC era during the dark ages in some aspects for me, and I have no ill regards to Colby Covington. He's a young prospect too. The guy fights out of the American Top Team, and I honestly thought Mike Pyle would have an answer for his wrestling game and his ground game, but it seemed like for me watching that fight on Fox Sports was that Colby had it down. I think he took Pyle by surprise and stuff like that. I mean, he was taking Pyle down, and Pyle's usually he has a good bottom game on the ground, and he just didn't seem like he had an answer for it until the 3rd round when he almost got him in that sub and stuff like that, but Pyle lost it. I thought if anybody, because usually you would see something like that in the fight where somebody is losing through the whole round, stuff like that, but then he tries to pull off a slick finish and it doesn't come out that way. I thought Mike Pyle would have been the one to do it, but he didn't. But it was still, to me, it was still a good fight. Pyle was fighting his way to try to win it. Covington was going for the kill, and it was a fight that was Covington's win, in my opinion. I mean, but it doesn't take any Mike Pyle is a fucking great fighter. I mean, the guy fought Rampage Jackson in his first fight. Shout out to Jake on you on that one for that little MMA knowledge, because I didn't know that one. But the Islam and Liam Kuntz fight, very one-sided. I was kind of hoping they would stop that fight earlier, but Islam had it down, and pretty much goes on from there, man.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next 3 prelim fights. Rafael Natal versus Uriah Hall. Man, I scored it 29-29. I scored the 3rd round a 10-10. The 2nd round to Natal, and the 1st round to Hall. I don't know why I went backwards there, but I.
Yo, Jake, what happened? Jake. Well, if we're live right now, I think we're running some technical issues right now. Jake will probably edit that one. I guess hopefully Jake gets back on, but I'll start off with that Natal Uriah Hall fight actually, while Jake puts everything back up. If anybody watched, the UFC weigh-ins, when Natal and Uriah Hall, it seemed like Uriah Hall had like a lot of emotions, built in. Lard pretty much did the DX suck it from that point, and then who else? Dustin Poirier, getting in the face of Conor McGregor and stuff like that. And look what happened. Freaking Poirier lost too. So like, I mean, and there's more examples of that one of people like playing their emotions, but I remember the ones that like just did it too much. And Jake, you back, man?
Yeah, I started talking and realized I wasn't being picked up by the Ustream or the Audacity, and I started asking if you were there, and you weren't there, and I looked down, and I had unplugged both my cans and my microphone from the USB, so I apologize for that one.
Well, I actually, I was assuming that we're still live and stuff like that.
We are, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
perfect.
Here's what I was talking about. I guess I'll start off first with this one. But, I was talking about the weigh-ins, Uriah Hall and Rafael Natal and stuff like that. It seemed like Uriah Hall had some, real big beef with Natal. And you can just see it at the weigh-ins. So when I was going back and talking about, look at all the fighters that, fought with emotions. You had Melvin Gillard against Rich Clemente. They had some type of beef because they were both from Louisiana and stuff like that. And look what happens. Gillard gets submitted by Clemente, and Clemente just rubbed more salt in the wounds. Look at DC and John Jones. DC lost because his fight with emotions, and then Dustin Poirier, he lost with emotions against with Conor McGregor. So with in lieu of all that too, and I'm pretty sure there's more examples than what I'm talking about too. If anybody wants to tweet that out or call in, but Uriah Hall winning that fight against Natal, he wasn't himself, and you know what? He lost by a split decision, and people are debating that, maybe Hall should have won that fight. I'll tell you what, I think Hall had every reason to lose that fight.
I only gave the first round to him.
He should have finished Natal. And you know why? Because he is that better of a fighter than Natal. And I'm not trying to say Natal shouldn't be cut from the UFC or anything like that, but Uriah Hall, man, there was such a hype behind him and stuff, and could have been, could have been more hype than what realistically is. I don't think so. I think Uriah Hall is an awesome fighter. He's a great fighter. There's just, he just goes into these back and forth fights where he should have won. He should have beat Doomsday fucking Howard, but they're all hugging it out and shit. It's what the fuck you doing, bro?
My buddy Jay Jeans has a really good line for how Hall fights. Hall is like a fighter on the UFC video game where all of his stats are maxed out to 99, but the person playing the game just doesn't know how to play it.
Wow. That's so mean.
It is a little mean, but one thing I did want to mention about Hall, you have fighters who are kind of known for being friendly and outgoing with fans. Uriah Hall, from what I've heard, because I've seen him at a bunch of cards, and look, when he's been on the word on the street, he's awesome. I don't have a bad thing to say about him, but from what I've heard, he's just not cool with fans, and fight week he can be kind of a dick, and it makes you wonder, all of his losses, you sort of can point at, well, he mentally wasn't there, and what is the barrier keeping him from his ceiling, which seems like is top 5 status.
That's exactly what I'm saying. He had every reason to be Rafael Natal. Yeah. But he just, I don't know, man. He just played it. I don't know, somehow he just played himself on that one, just fighting with emotions. I mean, look what Michael Bisping does. You see what he did to Alan Belcher? He got him so pissed off that he pushed Michael Bisping. Bisping's all right, I got you now, fucker. So I think for Uriah Hall, and it goes back to I've heard this term used against GSP, but he is a mental midget. When someone just pisses off Uriah Hall or someone in the past, or during the fight week, stuff like that, Like, he just plays into his emotions too much, and he's better than that. Uriah Hall is better than that. He could honestly be, top 5, top 3. He could be fighting Rockhold. Like, imagine that.
Yeah.
Like, besides, like, all of his lost stuff like that, like, can you imagine a fight with him and Rockhold?
God, that would be fun. War? Yeah.
Tell me about it. But, like, he is losing to himself right here. Like, again, like, he had... I think he had every reason to be happy on the top by knockout and stuff like that. And I'm not debating with anybody saying Uriah Hall should have won that fight, because you know what? Maybe he should have, but he should have fucking finished halfway on the tall. If Tim Kennedy can finish halfway on the tall, fucking Uriah Hall could finish halfway on the tall. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's yet another Hall fight we can mark up to him just mentally being out of it. Let's move on. Dong Young Kim against Josh Berkman. Kim went out and looked impressive as shit. He apologized after the fight for being boring. But dude, you can in the first and second round, yeah, that may have been a little boring. But Kim was just imposing his will a la Ben Askren, just not letting Berkman do anything. He finished the fight. You can't call a guy boring in a fight if he finishes it with a beautiful arm triangle choke 2 minutes and 13 seconds into the final round. Kim is one of these guys who I hope the UFC keeps around, because he's undoubtedly a very good gatekeeper at welterweight. I just don't know if we ever see him crack the top 5. But it is what it is, and Dong Young Kim is a very good fighter.
Well, you know what though? I mean, we could talk about those first 2 rounds being boring, but did you remember what freaking Berkman did to Kim? Like, he got Kim wobbled, and Kim had to finish. Yeah. Kim had to figure out how to finish this guy before he got finished. So
very true.
I can see how people can be like, this is bullshit. This is a boring ass fight, blah blah blah, and it goes back to Johnson again, Demetrius Johnson's last fight. It goes all the way to 4 minutes and 59 seconds in the last round, and he taps him out. Like, I can honestly see how people get pissed off about that, because they want to see an exciting fight, not something that's one-sided, like lay and pray, or like pitter-patter jabs and move along and stuff like that. I can understand that, but I still thought that fight was fucking awesome, especially near the end when Berkman clipped him, and next thing you know, you have Kim on Queer Street basically after that. Yeah. And Kim pulled out the fucking finish because he had to, because he didn't want to get finished. And
the second round was close to being a 10-8 Kim round. He dominated it. So I'm glad the better fighter at least that night won, and yeah, that's a pretty easy to break down fight. Kim used his style of just being a stun gun, being a neutralizer, sets up the arm triangle choke after he goes to mount, cinches it up, and Berkman's got to tap out with 2.5 minutes left in the fight.
Yeah, and now for Berkman, though, 2 losses in a row coming back for World Series fighting to the UFC. Well, no, actually, I take that back. He it was a no contest because Lombard tested positive. He did, but you know what though? Like, I like that first fight when he fought Lombard, because he gave 0 fucks. He was letting Lombard leg kick him. It was like, dude, you don't got shit. And he was doing Anderson Silva shit, standing in the back of the cage, like, come on, dude, come on. So it was that. I thought that was awesome. But his fight against Kim, I think there's still a future for Berkman in the UFC. But it's
maybe
just
test him against,
dude,
maybe test him against one of these young guys like Ryan LaFleur or Gunnar Nelson.
Thatch. I want to see Berkman and Thatch fight. I think that would be, because they're both on losing. Thatch lost to Benson Henderson, who is now and we'll talk about this, but is permanently moving up to welterweight. But Thatch lost to a lightweight, and Berkman lost twice. That'd probably be a good matchmaker for Joe Silva to think about.
Berkman, Thatch, both of these guys will be very willing to bang it out. I guess let's get to these flyweight fights. You had Dodson Makovsky and Benavidez Moraga. I don't want to lump them together, but I think both of them went just like we thought. You know, I thought Dodson might be able to get a finish. I expected it to be a domination. You know, Dodson definitely looked better as the fight progressed, but Makovsky had his moments early. But sort of like a lot of folks expected, you know, flyweights, we don't see finishes because these guys just, you know, really don't possess knockout power. And you had Dodson and Joe B cruise to pretty one-sided decisions. I don't know what you thought about the fights and what you think we do with the flyweight belt now. You know, does Dodson get a shot? Do you square Dodson and Benavidez off for a shot and maybe give Johnson some time off? I don't know. It's sort of a quandary because Johnson has obviously beaten both guys.
You know what? Like, I actually thought those two flyweight fights were actually entertaining. I mean, yeah, they were both one-sided, like unanimous decision stuff. But I mean, for John Moraga and Zach Makovsky, though, I mean, they were going in there fighting. But here's the thing about Dodson, though, that like a lot of people got to realize. This guy was out for a fucking year. You know, like, I think I have, like, all the flyweights, you know, that I could think about on top of my head. Like, he's probably, like, the only one that could possibly, like, finish somebody in the flyweight division. I mean, Joe Benavidez, I think he's finished some people and stuff like that. But that's the only one I could, like, really see, like, you know, finish some people and stuff like that. But, you know what, they were still entertaining. They were both fighting. It wasn't, like, a one-sided pitter patter. Like, they were going in there and they were grinding. They were throwing punches. They were working on the ground, stuff like that. I liked John Moraga and Joseph Benavidez fight too. I mean, Benavidez, you know, rocked him with some elbows from the ground and stuff like that and got him all bloodied up. I don't know. I thought they looked kind of legal, but I might have been wrong on that one. But I honestly thought that fight, I thought both those fights were actually entertaining.
I thought the Dodson fight was way more exciting than the Benavidez one. You know, I mean, yeah, it's fun, but, you know, they both are very active. But I don't know, man. I'm not trying to get down on the flyweights because, you know, I think Johnson has earned his spot as a pound for pound king. Just both of these fights were sort of the stereotypical, you know, let's bang it out and at the same time take minimal damage.
Yeah. I mean, if I could go back in time and, like, you know, rewatch the UFC 187 fight, I would flip Benavidez Moraga to the prelim card and Dodson Makovsky to that one. But I mean, only because, like, Dodson, I mean, Benavidez, it goes back to, like, you know, what's next for Benavidez and Dodson. I mean, you put Dodson on the main card and stuff like that, he wins, and now, like, you know, he could be like, okay, yeah, I want that title shot against Demetrius Johnson. Versus Joe Benavidez, like, if you guys listen to this the post-fight conference, he actually was realistic in when they asked him that question, like, who you want next, stuff like that, and he was like, you know, I fought Demetrius twice and I lost and stuff like that. Does it really make sense for a third fight? Like, I mean, obviously he would say yes to that fight and stuff like that, but realistically, on a business standpoint, you know, does it make sense, you know, for a third try against Demetrius Johnson? No, it doesn't. And I think what he alluded to answer or to, like, say and stuff like that, I think he prefers Dodson to win because that'll open up the flyweight division for Benavidez to fight Dodson. But I think, in all actuality, I mean, deservingly, does Demetrius deserve a rematch? If so happens Dodson wins, yes, he does. But I don't know if the UFC would want to put him in that rematch because of, like, just the backlash, especially the fallout of the pay-per-view that he fought on. You know, people were leaving and stuff like that. Again, like we talked about this before on last podcast, I think Johnson needs to move up to 135 and fight Barao. You know, I'm telling you, like, that would be more entertaining to see Johnson go up in weight and fight Barao. Like, you'll get more people excited to watch that fight versus, because, like, he's the most dominant person in the flyweight division. Let's just say that hands down. Okay, he is. Okay, but no one's watching him. No one's watching the flyweights. It's not entertaining. But I think if you take Johnson out of that mix, if he loses or releases a belt and stuff like that, and moves up to 135. It opens up the flyweight division, and it opens up the bantamweight division. That's just my opinion on that one. That's my take.
Dude, I fucking love it. You know, Johnson, by 2016, he'll need, if he keeps dominating flyweights the way he is, say he beats Dodson again, say he beats Benavidez again, he has no other choice. I mean, you know, he's so good. He'll need to fight, whether it's Dillashaw, whether it's Barao. I agree that a move up needs to happen in the next year if Johnson wants to remain relevant. You know, or else he, I guess, can choose to stay in the same division and keep beating the same fighters over and over and over. Not really that entertaining. Speaking of entertaining, let's get to the most entertaining fight on the card. Andrei Arlovski defeating Travis Browne via TKO with 19 seconds left in the first round. This was insane. About a minute in, Arlovski clips Browne, and hats off to Browne for staying in it as long as he did. There were 3 or 4 flurries that Browne could have gone down in, and he stayed up. Actually landed a shot about maybe 45 seconds before the fight was finished, where Arlovski has Browne on Queer Street for 2 or 3 minutes, and then Browne lands a heavy left that sends Andre to the mat. He jumps back up and eventually backs Browne into the fence where he finishes it. Me breaking down and trying to explain the fight does it no justice. Whether you have to I don't know how you're going to find the full fight. Google, YouTube, Reddit, I don't know. Just find the full fight if you have not seen it and watch it. And if you have, my God, you know what I'm talking about, because that was a war.
Whew, man, that's like one of the times I wish I was there at 187 watching it live, man. Just, my God, that was just watching the flash game, I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. That was, for Travis Browne, that was all heart, and for Arlovski, that was an ass whipping, just, you know, for Arlovski to beat the shit out of Travis Browne. I was like, my God. And just like, the funniest things I've seen on that one was just seeing, you know, if you like see Travis Browne's like fighting stance and stuff like that, it's very wide base and stuff. And when he's getting tagged with those shots, you just see him still trying to keep that stance, but it looks like he's dancing at the same time. Like he was completely out of it. The ref kept kept going, and maybe he should have like stopped it, you know, maybe a little bit sooner. But either way, it's debatable, but it was still an awesome fight. And for Arlovski to get clipped like that for that flash knockdown and stuff like that, I thought the fight could have been over. And I got a little bit of different take on this one, Jake. I got a question for you, man. I got a question. All right, there's 3 heavyweights, and there's 3 heavyweights, and I want you to rank them from first to last. Travis Browne, Fedor Emelianenko, and Brett Rogers. Rank them from 1 to 3.
Like if they had to fight today, all time, at the prime.
Prime.
Easy. Fedor, Browne, Rogers.
Okay, here's my question on this one. You know, when Browne hit him with that shot, you know, and you got to think back to like when the highlight knockout when Emelianenko knocked him out.
All 3 are men. Yeah.
And then you got to go into when Brett Rogers pretty much bum rushed him like a Bob Sapp motion and knocked him out too. You know, and you got to consider like all the other knockouts that Arlovski's been through. And to have Travis Browne, you ranked him 2, you know, below Brett Rogers, stuff like that. I kind of agree with you on that one too. But like, how did he not get knocked out from that punch?
I think Rogers and Fedor are maybe harder punches than Browne, but I put Browne above Rogers because he's bigger. He has a more what is the word I'm looking for? He has more strikes he can pop you with, whether it's an elbow or a front kick. Yeah. He has more tools in the toolbox. But if we're just going straight up, who hits the hardest? Man, Brown is very good, but you look at a lot of his KOs and they aren't the traditional punch you in the face and you go out. They, he finished Schaub on the ground with multiple strikes. He finished Barnett with an elbow up against the cage. He finished Gonzaga the same way. He finished Overeem with a front kick followed by a flurry. He finished Struve with a Superman punch. I don't know if he necessarily is putting the same pounds per square inch into just a straight, 2 as a Fedor or a Rogers are.
I just go back to this too. It just goes back to it, like we hear this whole thing, once your chin gives out, like that's it. Like you don't grow it back and stuff like that. And for Orlossi to get hit like that by Brown and for him to like get right back up, I'm trying to like scratch my hands like, did he just like grow his chin back? Like basically what I'm getting with this one is like, I mean, like could he have been juicing? Could his chin grow back if he was juicing is what I'm trying to figure out. Because I'm kind of like wanting to know what the test results are for that card, and I'm wondering if Arlovsky might pop.
I don't think so, and I think if Arlovsky wasn't in the driver's seat as much as he was, say the first round is uneventful and Brown lands the shot, I think he finishes it. Watching the fight, I noticed two things. Or one big thing, which when Brown knocked him down, Brown was so fucked up that he couldn't finish it. Brown landed these 2 wild, swinging, shoveling uppercuts, and then punches so hard he just watch it. Brown knocks Arlovsky down and sort of kind of takes his back and lands these punches, and then he throws a punch so wild that misses. The punch goes over Arlovsky's head, and the momentum of the punch actually swung Brown's body over him. So Brown was so punchy that I think if he was with it more, he would have finished it. And I think the fact that Andre had so much adrenaline going through his body, knowing that he was very close to a win, that probably shored up his resolve to stay in it and not go out and stand right back up and finish the fight.
Yeah, that's a good take on that one. But I'm still more interested in seeing these test results come back. And it goes back to like the dark clouds, like, oh, now we got to wait for these test results to come back clean and stuff like that. He ain't going to pop, son. Hopefully it doesn't ruin the card, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, hearing about, if he did pop, that would really fuck the card over in a lot of fans' minds. But honestly, just look at his body and his frame, I don't think he'll pop.
Probably not. So, all right, man. But that, doggy. Yeah, I gotta go on Reddit. I got a big deal about Reddit. I'll tell you offline and stuff like that. But I got a bone to pick with Reddit. Fuck those guys.
Fuck you, Reddit. What up, r/MMA? Let's move on. Donald Cerrone and John McDessie. This was another fun fight, sort of like I mentioned. The arena didn't know what the fuck happened when the fight was stopped. Then we watched it again. We heard he had a broken jaw. This was just 2 strikers who were willing to stand in the middle and exchange. And it really shows the importance of quickness and footwork, because I think John McDessie might actually punch a little bit harder than Donald Cerrone, but Donald, knowing he had the advantage with kicks, was throwing a lot of leg kicks, knees, head kicks. It was a head kick that broke John McDessie's jaw in the second round, ending the fight. And you go go back, watch their footwork. John McDessie is not a plodding fighter at all, but Cerrone is so light on his feet that he almost made McDessie look like a plodding fighter. He was jumping around. Both guys for the most part stood in the middle of the ring, but it was Cerrone with the better movement, and at the end, lands a brutal head kick that breaks a jaw and ends the fight.
Yeah, the timeout thing. I was like, what the fuck? A timeout? And if I knew, like, when he nailed that kick and stuff like that, him calling timeout, he's trying to call that fight was over and stuff like that. And I've seen like a lot of backlash on Twitter. It's like, what are you doing calling timeout and stuff like that? No one does that.
I thought it was an eye poke at first.
Yeah, but just the whole the notion of a timeout, like I knew the fight was over when he called the notion for a timeout, that like something happened, like a jaw broken or something. Like I kind of figured it was a jaw broke, but for people like, oh, you don't call timeout in MMA, it's happened before. Like like I've never seen it happen. Jamie Varner and Razor Cola. Like Jamie Varner got a flash, McCullough him with a flash hook. Not just Jamie Varner's mouthpiece out, and he's sitting there calling timeout so he can grab his mouthpiece. So, hey, casual MMA fans, watch some fucking fights, because this shit's fucking happened before. But just going back to that McDessie fight, I think he did the right thing. I mean, I hear a lot of people like, oh, you don't quit during strikes, stuff like that. Guess what, dude? Like, it happens. GSP did it. He tapped strikes. Tito Ortiz tapped his strikes. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, we can name quite a few people that tapped out the strikes. Is it like, retreating from battle, tapping the strikes in a sense, like kind of like shameful? Yeah, maybe. But you know what? I'm kind of taking this from another podcast. They were talking about this on Bushido Talk. Shout out to Nuber Grubers, Tommy Toehold, and those guys. But they're talking about this too on there. If you're locked into a fucking Kimura, you don't let that person fucking break your fucking shoulder just so they can stop the fight. You tap. And that's basically the same thing that McDessie did. He knew someone was wrong. He got his fucking jaw broken. He called timeout to let the ref know, like, hey, I'm done. And that's it. So, like, big ups.
And he's a tough guy, yeah.
He is. He fucking is, And, like, he has highlight reels, too. Remember his freaking spinning back fist that he landed? Come on now. I mean, I think the other thing, too, just, like, going on the McDessie case, too, is just that whole scandal of the Fear the Fighter lawsuit that Musasi and these other people are throwing against, I guess, in his direction, when he never was like a president or anything like that. He was just a name to boost up Fear the Fighter. I think that was kind of like, in the back of his head too, maybe. But he took the fight on like 2 weeks' notice and stepped up. And because, let's be honest, everyone wanted to see Cerrone fight, and it wasn't really the Cerrone fight that we all saw, but we all wanted to watch Cerrone fight, and McDessie stepped up, and they were trading punches, staying in the pocket, staying in the middle of the octagon and stuff, and that's what happened. It was a good fight. Calm the fuck down, calm your tits, casual fans.
Calm your tits. And now Donald Cerrone is on an 8-fight win streak, and according to Dana White, will next fight Rafael Dos Anjos late 2015. Dos Anjos' first title defense will come against Donald, who who is
mostly deserving. Like, he is so deserving of that title shot.
He has so many Zuffa fights. I believe he has clocked 27 fights total in the WEC and UFC, and has fought for the WEC title
twice.
Twice, both times against once against Varner and once against Benson for
Bendo.
The interim, and once for the straight up. Went 0-3, so looking for his first Zuffa gold. Stylistically, I think this is a decent matchup for Donald.
I do too. I mean, obviously, Dos Anjos is a black belt in BJJ, but I mean, Cerrone's ground game. Cerrone's ground game is pretty good too, especially off his back as well. So I mean, it can work both ways. But then you just see Dos Anjos' freaking stand up looking so much cleaner, so much crisper. So like, I don't know. That one's kind of hard to say as of right now. But Dos Anjos has a win over Cerrone. maybe Cerrone wasn't in it, that fight and stuff like that. But I tell you what, him getting that title shot, he more than likely will be now. He'll be focused like no other.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess this will go down in the latter part of 2015. I assume RDA would be a favorite, but I don't know. I think this will be a really close fight. I think the fight against Pettis, where he just dominated him, I think that fight might not be, most fans watched that and said, oh, well, Dos Anjos is obviously much better than Pettis. I don't know if I would say he's much better. I think Dos Anjos breaking Pettis' orbital in the first round was a very big factor there. But yeah,
I don't think anybody's sold on. I don't think anybody's sold on Dos Anjos yet. It's like the same thing when Chris Weidman knocked out Anderson Silva. No one was sold on him that much yet, and just moving to the co-main event. Not to try to talk about that, but going back, I think that's the thing right there. I don't think no one's sold on Dos Anjos yet. He doesn't have the fan following that Cowboy does. Cowboy goes there and brawls. Everyone knows who Cowboy is. They want to watch Cowboy fights, regardless who Cowboy fights, but they want to watch Cowboy fight. And I think Cowboy going in there, he's going to have more momentum when it comes to the fanfare and stuff like that, and maybe more of the hype, But Dos Anjos is still a good fighter. I mean, he's been around as long as he's been around longer than Cerrone in the UFC.
Yeah,
he fought Jeremy Stevens. He's fought Jeremy Stevens. He's fought Tyson Griffin. He's fought fucking killers.
Dos Anjos will be the favorite, and he deserves to be the favorite. His last 2 wins, he beat the shit out of 2 people who beat the shit out of Cerrone. So I'm not a believer in MMA math, but Dos Anjos straight embarrassed Nate Diaz and Anthony Pettis, and those are both fighters who have in turn embarrassed Cerrone. Has Cerrone improved since those fights? For sure. He's on an 8-fight winning streak. His last fight was to Rafael Dos Anjos at UFC Fight Night Condit vs. Campman 2 back in 2013. So this will be a rematch. But both men have come a long way. To anyone saying RDA is taking steroids, I say shut the fuck up. I think
he's clean. He's clean, dude. So calm your fucking tits, casual fans. UFC fans.
I also think the best lightweight in the UFC is Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, but here
it's a shame we didn't see Cerrone versus him. I mean, and I like Cerrone way more than Khabib or RDA or Bendo or Diaz. I live in Denver, for fuck's sake. But, like the Cerrone, Varner, Bendo trifecta, I guess you could call them, in the WEC was right around when I started getting involved watching the sport, and I loved it. I still have the Cerrone Bendo poster. He is one of my favorites of all time. Bendo versus Cerrone 1 is my favorite fight of all time. I love the guy, but I still think Khabib is the best lightweight in the UFC.
Oh, now we're going back in time. I remember actually going to a little autograph signing. It was when I was back in San Diego, and Jamie Varner and Uriah Faber were there. It was a WEC San Diego card, but it was Varner against Cerrone, and I think it was Uriah Faber was fighting either. It wasn't Matt Brown. It was Jens Pulver, I think. I can't remember. But Jamie Varner, when I first watched him on TV and stuff like that, I thought he was a fucking dick. I thought he was the biggest dick ever. Doesn't respect his fans, doesn't respect the fighters or anything like that. But when you meet him face to face, that guy is cool as fucking shit.
Really?
Cool as shit. Yes, very cool as shit. To his fans and stuff like that. Very, very warm, welcoming, humbling too as well about his fights and stuff like that. Guy is very. He's a cool person, outside the cage and stuff like that. Very cool. Got a picture of him. I think I'm gonna post it on Twitter again. But got a picture of him. I've always been a fan of Jamie Varner ever since that.
You know, I might give him a second shot, like you're giving Schaub a second shot, because I've always been down on him. I have been down on him since that whole Cerrone fight where he said he couldn't go on, and then the replays showed that the illegal knee didn't even land, and he was acting. That really turned me off. But you know what, Jamie, you are back on my good list, I guess, would be the opposite of the shit list. But yeah, follow him on Twitter at Jamie Varner, folks.
Oh yeah, but
even though he doesn't need it.
Yeah, but just going back to like just the whole lightweight bracket and stuff like that. I mean, it's still up in the air. I mean, we thought Pettis was going to be the guy, but now we got other people in the mix. We'll see what happens. We shall see. I like to see Nate Diaz and Pettis finally duke it out, but apparently Pettis is fucking injured again. You know, it could be one to talk shit about being injured. Come on, bro. Like, you need to calm down that one.
That was hilarious. Currently, your top 5 ranked lightweights at as far as the official UFC rankings go after the champ RDA. You have Pettis 1, Nurmagomedov 2, Cerrone tied with him at 2. Melendez at 4, Johnson at 5. I can't really argue with that. Pettis has been so dominant. I don't want to discredit him for one loss, and I hope he gets a title shot again soon because the dude is so talented, and I would be heartbroken if this broken orbital really, kind of stops his career like it did Josh Koscheck.
But you know what though? But that division without Anthony Pettis will still move on. These still exciting fights. I mean, you talked about 2 people in that rankings. You got Melendez and you got Alvarez. Whoo, doggy, and they're gonna be fighting in Mexico.
Yes.
Like, God, dude, like
UFC
I would love
188.
Yep. You know what? Like, and they were supposed to fight when Melendez was in Strikeforce and Alvarez were in Bellator. They were going to try to co-promote that one. And you got to think about it this way, too, for any UFC fans, stuff like that. You got the 2 best lightweights in 2 different companies outside the UFC that are ranked up in, like, the top 5 that's outside the UFC. And they were going to duke it out. Like, that would be fucking awesome. Obviously, it never came to fruition up until now. I will still pay money to watch that. Like finally, like now we get to see a former Bellator champion and a former Strikeforce champion finally duke it out. The 2 people were supposed to meet outside the UFC to fight. Finally, we get to watch that, and it's going to be in fucking Mexico City. Oh, doggy.
Yeah, seriously, that is going to be fun as hell. I guess we'll move on to the co-main event, Weidman and Belfort. This was all Weidman, man. I don't know, like it looked like Belfort had a flurry, and Weidman covered up during it and eventually took him down, took the mount, which he took the full mount so easily. I don't know if Belfort was rocked or what, but Weidman took the mount surprisingly easy against a black belt and just started bouncing his head off the canvas with punches. And before you knew it, 2 minutes and 53 seconds into the first round, Chris Weidman defeats another Brazilian legend with ease.
You know what? Yeah, you know what? Like, I don't even want to talk about that yet. This is what I want to talk about, post TRT Vitor. Look at this guy at the weigh-ins, looking like before TRT Vitor when he fought Anderson Silva. Like his size, like he was the same build in that fight against Anderson Silva, Rich Franklin. Who else? Sexyama. He had the exact same build. Like now you can see what what people look like off of TRT, and Vitor is the prime example for that fight. And even before I predict, even like when this fight card even popped up, like only thing I could tell myself is like, all right, it's hard to say what Vitor is going to be like after TRT, but if TRT was his biggest performance in those 3 knockouts with Bisping, Rockhold, and Henderson, then he ain't going to be the same without it.
Yeah.
and you know what? And they had beef at the weigh-ins too. Well, more Weidman than Belfort, but Weidman was pissed because like he had a suspicion that Vitor was juicing again.
He had very high T scores.
Yeah, and like I don't know if you have to like don't watch like the UFC weigh-ins. Watch like the MMA clip on that one, but you could see Lorenzo Fertitta's face on that one. He's like, "What?" Like that's bullshit. Basically, just watch. And go on. You'll see that.
You know that Vitor is Lorenzo's favorite fighter, so there was a little bit of bias going into him being like, "What? Huh? What?" Like, yeah, it's
yeah. But just to see his reaction on that one, it's like, what is going on? Basically, yeah. But then the other thing too was when Vitor was walking out, and then his trainer was like shaking up his muscles, and you just see that blubber fly. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Like he has like no muscle mass like he used to when he was on TRT and shit. I was like, this fight is not gonna go past the first round. But I was surprised that Weidman would let him throw punches like that, even though Vitor, won one of those last 3 fights on TRT and stuff like that. But you can't deny his fucking hand speed like no other. Like he arguably has the fastest hands in the UFC, arguably with power and stuff like that. And that was my worry, that Weidman would play in emotions. He didn't play in emotions like Uriah Hall did, but he was playing in emotions too because he was pissed off about that fight, about Vitor cheating again. But for him to like let him hit him like that, I was like, oh dude, like I got worried there for a second. And then the finish where he pretty much mounts a Carlson Gracie black belt, guys. He mounts a Carlson Gracie black belt with ease. I want to do a shout out to somebody on this one. I don't mean this literally, but Ramses from the Aunt Jimmy show.
The fight was a work, people.
Perfect. Oh, shout out Ramses. We love you, man. Get better soon. But you know what? That could be argued too. Like maybe Vitor was like, you know what? I'll just go into this fight. A lot of people are just like, they don't want to see me as a champion. Maybe, I don't know. But like he took that mount with ease. Weidman took that mount with ease. Sarah is a black belt in BJJ too. But for Weidman to do that to a Carlson Gracie practitioner, I don't know, man. Like I was scratching my head on that one. It's like, how you let him like mount you like that with ease? Awesome fight though.
I just hope the truth is even more horrifying than we could ever imagine.
That's why. That's right. Shout out to Ramses on Twitter at the Aunt Jimmy Show. Hope to have you back feeling better as soon as possible. Let's really quickly. I won't play the Vitor fight just because it's him. I want to thank Jesus, and I am very proud of the fight.
No! Before you do that, you know what? Like, I tweeted this out on Twitter. It's like, how dare you, Chris Weidman? You know what? Like, you call him out on the weigh-ins, you beat him in embarrassing fashion, and then you just pretty much take his Jesus line. That's just salt to the wounds right there. You know what? You disgust me on that one.
Yeah, which really quickly on the Vitor Belfort, which I'll get your reaction to this before I play the Weidman bit. Let's not vilify Vitor Belfort as much as I've seen him be vilified. Did he take TRT? Yes. Did he abuse it? Yes. Were his last 3 KO victories against Bisping, Hendo, and Rockhold a result of him being juiced up on the juice, on the TRT, on the HGH, on the Brazilian horse semen? Yes. Is he the only fighter to do it? No. Is he one of a few fighters to do it? No. Have most fighters over the course of time taken juice? Yes. The fact that he's fighting 19 years after his UFC debut at UFC 12 and still kicking ass. Do I think he should be allowed to juice? Of course not. But let's not vilify him like he's the only guy who's ever taken the sauce. He TRT removed from all accounts, is a very nice person, has been through a lot of trials and tribulations in his personal life, is a legend, is a future UFC Hall of Famer, and to hate him and to vilify him for doing something that scores, if not hundreds of other fighters have done, let's sort of take a step back and realize that Vitor is a good guy, a legend of the sport, and we shouldn't remember him just for being a juice head.
I think ONE FC wants to sign him, actually, though. I think his contract's coming over to UFC. Just wanted to add that one in there.
I would love to see Vanderlei versus Chael take as much TRT as you want, ONE FC. That would be a fun fight.
Yo. I mean, yeah, I got on a bandwagon of like hating Vitor on TRT and stuff like that, but you can't.
And it's a very easy one to join, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I got sucked into that one. I ain't gonna lie, but again, though, I mean, deep down, though, I mean, you can't deny him not being in the Hall of Fame, though. I mean, he's done a lot for the UFC, and yes, he's gone through personal problems too, and still let the promotion, went to Pride, went to Bellator, went back to Brazil to fight in their card, stuff like that, and came back to the UFC in decisively fashion, beat Rich Franklin. He still had it, and he still I think he still does got it. It's just going to be hard to say now what's going to happen to Vitor, except you got Michael Bisping. Now you got Mousasi wanting to get some of Belfort. Now I was like, come on, man. Like, now that you know this guy's off of TRT, now you want to fight him? Just seeing what happened to him against Weidman, it's like, dude, that's kind of, come on now, man. That's just more salted wounds right there. Like, haha, I told you. Now I want to fight him. Come on now, guys.
Steroids or not, Vitor came closer to finishing John Jones than anyone ever has, and the guy's a middleweight. The guy has been around since UFC 12, the same card our boy Joe Rogan debuted at. So, yeah, let's take a step back from the Vitor hate, and let's check in with the reigning middleweight champ, Chris Weidman, after the fight.
I'm here with the winner and still champion, Chris Weidman. First of all, how good does that sound?
That's the right way to say it. I like it.
Chris, the fight started off very fast. You were pressuring him, and it seemed like Vitor caught you with a couple of shots. Were you in trouble at any point?
All I was thinking is you're tiring yourself out. Hit me with some good shots, but I've been there in sparring, and I was just covering. I was ready to come back.
Now, let's take a look at the takedown. Once you got that takedown, it was all you. That was the beginning of the end. You secured top position, you got on top of him, and just unleashed a barrage of strikes. Once you got on top of him, did you know you had him?
I had set in my mind, if this is a grappling match, I'm dominating. I just had to have it set. And, the mind ended up taking over. And, I want to just give a round of applause to Vitor Belfort. The guy's a legend in the sport. I don't want him hanging his head over there. He deserves an applause.
There was a lot of animosity leading into this fight, particularly yesterday at the weigh-in. Have you put all that behind you now?
Yes, for now. I'm the last person that wants to badmouth somebody, but there's just some things that were really off about some of those scores, but I got the W, that's all that matters.
You did get the W, and you are the champion of one of the most talent-stacked divisions in the sport.
I just want to thank Jesus, not because just this victory, but just getting me through so many hardships. I always turn towards him, and he gives me the light. So this is the reason why I'm here and able to get through training camps to do this with you guys. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Hey, stop doubting me. It's enough. Stop doubting me. You better join the team now. This is my last invitation. Join the team. I love you.
Join the team, folks. Chris Weidman, ladies and gentlemen.
Join the team. Chris Weidman's message to the crowd. You sort of got a feel for him, man. He beats Anderson the first time, and everyone's like, oh, he only won because Silva was joking around and dancing in front of him. Then he beat Silva again, and everyone's like, oh, he only won because of a freak leg injury. Then he beats Machida, and everyone's like, oh, well, he almost lost at the end there, and it was close in the 4th and 5th rounds. And now he beats Vitor, and everyone's gonna say, oh, well, it was just him off TRT. It's sort of an unfortunate string for a fighter who is one of the best talents we have ever seen fight inside the octagon. Pardon me.
Yeah, he before I joined that band club, it might be too late, but he needs to beat Luke Rockhold decisively, and then I could be like, oh my God, like this is our next Anderson Silva in the middleweight division. Again, like it's unfortunate to say that and controversial, whatever. But I mean, he beat Anderson Silva twice. The first one, a lot of people called it a fluke and kind of tainting his win to be the new champion. Then the freak accident, where Anderson like pretty much gets his leg broken from a check leg kick, that kind of tainted his title reign on his defense. Machida, like the Machida fight was awesome. Like, I mean, that showed right there, Chris can, go in there and, go toe to toe with people and still win the fight. And honestly, like he won that fight hands down. The Vitor Belfort fight, though, I mean, I kind of expected that to happen because Vitor not be on TRT. So does it make me doubt if Chris Weidman is like, the champion in the middleweight division? It kind of does. But I think he needs to fight Rockhold. If he fights Rockhold and wins in decisive fashion, stuff like that, then I'm like, dude, this guy is legit. Sorry, Chris, I'm not jumping on the team yet, but keep my invitation open though.
Keep it open. And straight from Weidman's mouth, you better join the team now because this is your final invitation. Let's move forward. The final fight, the main event, Daniel Cormier versus Anthony Johnson. Man, as a DC fan, that first minute, that thunderclap that Anthony Johnson landed, which didn't make Cormier fall necessarily because he, knocked him senseless, but it was just the legit power, the joules, the pounds per square inch behind that punch sent Cormier's head back. And it was funny hearing him talk about it in the post-fight presser because Cormier says as he falls backwards, he can, see as he sort of tumbles behind him, Johnson just bum rushing him, and he realizes, holy shit, I gotta stand back up right now or this guy's gonna kill me. So he survives an early flurry and then just wears Johnson out, both against the cage, on the ground, gets a couple big takedowns. And after the second round, after DC put the ground and pound on him, you saw Johnson in his corner in the second round, and like I sort of talked about earlier, you could tell that the fight was going to end soon. Johnson could barely speak to his corner, was just so gassed. The corner saying stuff, and he's just like, what? Huh? What? Huh? What? Like he's got a flap of flesh opened up by a mean elbow from side control or half guard by DC. Just man, Johnson had his chance, and he landed that strike, and Cormier weathered the storm, and man, he just ran Anthony Johnson through the mud, wore him out, and gets the rear naked choke 3 rounds in to Rumble, who was so exhausted he couldn't even make it out barely to the final decision read out by Buffer, where John McCarthy raised the new 205 champ Daniel Cormier's hand. It's funny how he went from just 5 months ago. Let's not beat around the bush. John Jones whooped his ass, and Cormier comes back, gets another title shot, and really dragged Johnson into deep water and earned himself the third round rear naked choke win.
Yeah, he did. That fight went the way I expected it to be honest with you. I mean, you got to look at who DC trains with. I mean, he trains with strikers. He trains with, I know Luke Rockhold's a middleweight, but he's still a great striker. But Cain Velasquez, who is a legitimate striker to himself. So, and plus, I mean, you got to look at, DC's background too, just the grind that he went through in his wrestling collegiate career in the Olympics. And just going back, I mean, that's how I expected the fight to go that way. I expected the fight to where DC has to smother him, get him on the ground, stuff like that. What I didn't expect was Anthony Johnson to be so tired in that fight, to be honest with you. I didn't expect him to be that tired. I thought maybe, after maybe in championship rounds, he might be a bit tired because I don't think he was tested in 5 rounds before. I might be wrong, but I thought, after the 4th round, he might be a little gassed, but going into the 3rd round, after he got those barrage of elbows, and if everyone didn't see, after that bell rung in that 2nd round, Johnson trying to get up, oh, dude, he was fucking done.
He was wiped, yeah.
Yeah, he was wiped out. I honestly was going for Johnson in that one. He was deservingly got that title shot. And for DC, and I'm not trying to say DC snuck in there and got the title shot because Jones is incident or anything like that, but that's how it happened. He was the next in line, and for whatever reason,
he kind of did, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of did, but I mean, I don't think, not intentionally. They called on DC to fight Anthony Johnson for the title. Who wouldn't take that fight? Especially after DC gets embarrassed by John Jones in 50-45s, basically. Well, no, it's 49-40. I think he had 49-46 overall. I think he probably won the 1st or 2nd round, in my opinion. Slightly though. But he loses bad to John Jones, and for him to get a title shot like that, that happens. John Jones shouldn't have did what he did, and we were seeing John Jones and Anthony Johnson. But what I liked was when Anthony Johnson put the belt around Cormier's waist. What I liked was his post-fight. He was so humbling in the agony of defeat, and he was still humble to the fact that, hey, I lost. I'll be back, though. I went through all this adversity to get back to the UFC after my stint, with the weight cut and stuff like that. The guy's back, and very, very humbling guy. Very humbling guy. But big ups to the champ, Daniel Cormier. I knew he was going to win, and we'll see what goes on next for him on this one.
Let's check in with DC, chatting with Joe Rogan after the fight.
I'm here with the happiest man on earth, Daniel Cormier, the new UFC light heavyweight champion. How's it feel, sir?
Joe Rogan, no disrespect to you or the 16,000 people in this arena, but I have a message for one man. John Jones, get your together. I'm waiting for you.
A strong message to the former champion who beat him at UFC 182. What did you think about his post-fight comments?
That was a mic dropper right there. That was awesome. But I was actually more shocked that he actually cussed on a post-fight speech, and he still gets a bonus. I'm like, wait, hold on a second. I thought that was a rule. You can't cuss, during a post-fight speech or in a post-fight conference. But you still get a bonus, and it goes, and now we're gonna lead into the post-fight conference. Oh fuck, dude! How the hell you get a bonus? That's so unfair. But awesome way to end it, because I mean, he talks about it in the post-fight speech.
You with us? It sounds
like that.
Up there, you are. You're cutting in and out a little bit.
Oh, my bad. But what I'm saying is, DC and John Jones are always going to be tied together and stuff like that. And he talks about it in this post-fight conference, But you know what? For him to drop the mic like that, perfect. But he shouldn't have gotten a bonus. He cussed. That should have gone to somebody else.
A funny little, a caveat about pay. Daniel Cormier. He's on a 90 and 90 pay structure, meaning he gets $90,000 to show, $90,000 to win. He made $90 at UFC 182. He made $180,000 at UFC 187. Comparatively, Weidman, he fights for $250,000 and $250,000, gets $250K to show, $250 to win. So he walks away with a cool half million. Guess what Anthony Johnson made Saturday night, UFC 187?
He was in six figures too, wasn't he? He got like $200,000, right?
Without a win bonus, the guy walks away with $500,000. As much as Weidman made.
Happen?
More than twice as much as Cormier made. I don't get it either. I don't know.
I don't fucking get that.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if he just has great management and maybe his contract expired after he beat Gus and he argued for a ridiculous paycheck. But, yeah, Rumble made $500,000 with which, you know, he might be on the same sort of contract that Jones is on. Jones at UFC 182 was not paid a win bonus, just got a cool half mil, and maybe Rumble was getting paid on the same sort of structure where even if he won, he's still going to walk away with $500K.
How the fuck does that happen? I mean, he fought in the World Series fight and had some awesome knockouts, had an awesome like ass whipping of Andre Arlovski, and negotiating. Like I'm thinking like this as like a businessman, like, you know, negotiating those fights in the World Series of fighting to now him coming back to the UFC to get over $200,000 or $500,000. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
you call that good management? Yeah.
Jeez, like I want to know who his manager is.
Also in the good management category, Dong Young Kim walking away with six figures, $116,000, 58 and 58.
Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah,
get the fuck out of here.
Dong Young Kim made $116,000 for a prelim fight win, submission win over Josh Berkman. And honestly, he probably should have gotten a Performance of the Night award.
Yeah, wow, dude. Like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, he's ranked 7 in the welterweight division, basically.
Yeah. Hudson made a third of that. He made $40K. He made 20 and 20. Just some funny numbers. You know, you have, I guess, Arlovski, Brown, Cormier, and Weidman getting the $50,000 bonuses, which my buddy Allen, after the fights, made a decent point to me, which is, man, I hate seeing guys on the main event and co-main event, two champions in Cormier and Weidman getting bonuses, because let's be honest, they don't need it. They're making, you know, $500K, $180K. Give it to a guy like an Islam Makhachev who's only making 20 G's from the fight, you know, before a bonus.
Give it to an up-and-coming fighter. I mean, that could just be something enticing for him to, like, try to finish more fights or have, like, a greater fight, you know, with the other person.
Even Dodson, like yeah.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, that'll bring up your market for, like, upcoming fighters versus, like, giving it to a champion. Like, that, what does he need with $50,000 for paying him championship money? You know, that doesn't make any sense. You know, like, he should be motivated to fight and stay champion, or you should be motivated, you know, going for a championship belt to win the belt. Like, that's the bonus right there. And then you know you're going to get the championship clause, your contract ripped up, and you're going to get more money. You know, like, what the fuck you need with a fucking win bonus for a performance bonus? That's stupid.
It is stupid. You know, we've got only a couple news items and then a quick preview of Condit Alves. Try and wrap this up in the next 15-20 minutes. But before we do, let's listen to some post-fight comments by the winners of the 3 top billed fights, Donald Cerrone, Chris Weidman, and Daniel Cormier in a little mini scuffle with Ryan Bader. We'll start with the Cowboy, Don Cerrone.
I wanted to wrestle. There was a lot of things I wanted to take him down, Every time I thought about taking him down, I thought about the comment he made that he turned strikers into wrestlers. And I was like, you. And so every time I thought about it, I didn't do it. And I wanted to, just to work on my game. But I don't know what the secret to success is, man. Just trying to figure out how to tell my heart what my mind wants to do. And it's hard. And fighting is, the people on the couch running at home, I wish I could just plug myself in and play myself a video game because I could kick ass if I could do that. But it's tough. So figuring out, man, I got a strong team. My coaches are awesome, all the guys up at the ranch. We really got a good thing going right now, and I feel that's what it is. We got the secret to success right now, and just kind of let Cowboy be Cowboy, I think, is what my coaches are finally realizing.
And we'll check in with the middleweight champ, Chris Weidman.
The attendance, 12,615.
First, a little
615 for a live gate.
Paperwork with Dave Schaller.
189,167. 5189-167. Fight of the night, Andre Arlovsky and Travis Brown. Performances of the night, Chris Weidman and Daniel Cormier.
Now I'll pass it to Weidman.
In here and competing, and I'm not going to just come in here and think it's a fist fight or a bar fight. I'm going to just try to take these guys' head off. I'm in there to compete, mentally and physically break them. So it wasn't all the emotion from the weigh-ins, which is all real. I put to the side for the fight.
Kevin, you see what's...
Yeah, and then we had an interesting exchange between Daniel Cormier and Ryan Bader. I'll let the tape speak for itself. Here it goes. The voice you hear on the mic is Cormier, and then you can sort of hear Bader barking back in the background.
As Ryan Bader's ass, I'm going to beat the shit out of him next time. You keep talking, Bader. Keep talking, Bader. Keep talking. This guy's so disrespectful. I'm trying to fight Anthony Johnson, and Ryan Bader writes me stupid messages on Twitter because he wants people to think that he deserves a title shot. Come on, Ryan. You can come and fight me. You should get your ass kicked like you were going to do in June.
Let's bring it, buddy.
Okay?
2 fights you got out.
I didn't get out of any fights. Ryan, I didn't get out of any fights. Not once did I say I didn't want to fight Ryan Bader. I asked him to fight you because I just wanted an easy paycheck. I knew that I wanted to fight you. I asked to fight you multiple times, Bader. Bader, come on. I asked to fight you. They said, Daniel, what do you want? I said, I want the easiest fight in the division. I want Ryan Bader. I want the easiest fight in the division. I want Ryan Bader. Just give me my paychecks right now, Bader. Get your ass out of here. This is my press conference. Get the fuck out of here.
Any questions for AJ now? I'm here.
And that was the best part of the whole thing after the giant scuffle, where I guess it wasn't a scuffle, but Bader walked up to the dais, and Scholler kind of stood up and put himself between DC and Bader, and then it ends, and Bader walks back, and Rumble's like, anyone got any questions for AJ? I'm right here.
Yeah. Oh wow!
But
I think
sorry.
I think what Bader was referring to, because I think DC was talking about I've never backed out of any fights or anything like that. Not in technicality, yeah, you did. You were supposed to fight Louisiana in a main event against Ryan Bader. You backed out, and reasonably so, to fight for the championship, which anybody would do. But I think that's what Bader was referencing to, was that right there, because DC was like, I never backed out of any fights, blah, blah, blah. But you kind of did it. But I think that's what Bader was referencing to, was that right there.
Bader is a smart dude. Bader, after UFC 187, the title picture for light heavyweight was kind of up in the air. And what Bader did was he talked his way into a title shot. We've seen fighters do it before. We've seen Chael Sonnen do it. We've seen Conor McGregor do it. And this is to a lesser extent because, Bader isn't exactly going up saying crazy stuff. But I don't know if Cormier almost... he set the pins up for Bader, and Bader knocked them all down. And I think DC knows that, stylistically, I think Bader will be a tough fight, but I think there are tougher fights for DC at 205. If the UFC is smart, this is how I think. Pardon me. This is how I think they'll play it. I think the UFC.
Yeah.
I think the UFC makes Cormier Bader, and that goes down sometime fall 2015. And then toward the end of 2015, beginning of 2016, the UFC unsuspends Jon Jones. The UFC is going to rake in a lot of money with a Cormier-Jones rematch, especially if Cormier is the champion and Jones is the former champion, the strip champion coming back for his belt. Of course, Jon Jones will either get an immediate title shot or a title eliminator fight when he comes back. I think if the UFC plays the hand perfect, we see Cormier Bader maybe August or September, and then we see Cormier Jones 2 as the UFC's New Year's card, maybe the Super Bowl card, honestly, because having DC fight late May, then again in fall, then again on the New Year's card might be rushing it. So actually I'll say we see Cormier Bader September, October, and then we see Jones Cormier 2 Super Bowl weekend, Las Vegas. I'll for sure try and get my ass out to Vegas for that one.
Yeah, see, Bader versus DC for the championship. I don't know about that one, man. I mean, okay, what is the most highlighted career of Bader's, of wins? To me, it's Phil Davis, because he was relevant because he was in the top 5 light heavyweight division, and then he bounced Bellator. Rightfully so. That was smart on him, but
really though, Bader, I mean, sorry,
I don't know, man.
Currently, look at the top 5. You have Cormier. You have Jones, who's not even in the rankings because he's stripped. Anthony Johnson is still the number 1 ranked fighter, as he should be, because he's dominated everyone. Gustafsson is 2, who you can't really give a title shot to because the guy's last fight was a loss. He got knocked out in the first round, so you're not going to give Rumble a rematch. You're not going to give Gustafsson a fight because his last fight was a loss to Rumble. Rashad Evans still seems like he's out with an injury. He hasn't fought in almost 2 years. His last fight was against Chael Sonnen, November of 2013. You have Glover, who, I guess... No. His last fight was also a loss against Phil Davis, who just went to Bellator. You have OSP, who OSP is maybe your next choice after Bader, and OSP lost to Bader. So really, I mean, 205 is a classically very stacked weight class, but at the moment it works out to where Ryan Bader, in my opinion, is truly the next in line.
Yeah, I don't know about that. The only reason why Bader's probably ranked in the top 5 now is because of that post-fight conference. That's how he moved up the ranks.
He just beat OSP, and he just beat OSP, and he just beat Phil Davis. And those are 2 very impressive wins. You tell me who you give the shot to over Ryan Bader, and I'll argue anybody. I honestly think that when Jones got stripped, I thought, man, it's funny, the next 2 guys in line to replace Jones are fighting one another. I would put DC 1 and Bader 2, just because you have Gustafsson reeling from a loss, Glover reeling from a loss. You can't give a guy a title shot who just lost. You can't give a guy a title shot who hasn't fought in almost 2 years. And I think things are just aligned currently. Do I think Bader is better than Gustafsson? No. Do I think he's better than Rumble? No. Do I think he's better than Rashad Evans? No. Do I think he's better than Jones? No. Do I think he's better than DC? No. But just the way it works out now with his last 2 wins being over Davis and OSP, I think he's next in line.
Bader versus Gustafsson. DC needs to sit on the shelf for a little bit. Bader versus
Why has he
Gustafsson.
got to sit? Why has he got to sit, though?
He has to sit. Okay, man. Like I hate to say this, but
maybe make Gus versus Evans, and the winner of that fights the winner of Bader DC. If the UFC doesn't want to bring Jones back, I just see no reason to make DC sit when you have this animosity that's very marketable between Ryan Bader and Daniel Cormier.
I only say that because, like, I mean, I'm trying to, like, play matchmaking in my head and stuff like that. But, I mean, if I can, like, kind of go down the lines besides the flyweight division, you know, being kind of like, you know, I want to say the light heavyweight division is kind of that way too, man. Like, let's say, for instance, like, I mean, we're going through the top 10. I mean, can you see Glover Teixeira, like, doing something in the light heavyweight division and being a champion? Like, I mean,
no.
Marketing himself, no. Okay, what about Gustafsson? I still say yes. I still say yes to Gustafsson. I think he could be a marketable light heavyweight champion.
But you can't give him the shot before Bader because Gus, his last fight, he got knocked out in the first round while Bader's on a 4-fight winning streak.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, he lost to Anthony Johnson. I got it, but I still say you match Gus with Bader because, I mean, I think we're still riding this train. To me, we're still riding this train of Gus, you know, in his fight against John Jones, and I still think you could still do it. I think you put Gus in that mix against Bader, title contention fight. Whoever wins then fights DC. You know, I would like selfishly, I would love to see a rematch against Johnson in DC, but that's not going to happen. Yeah, that ain't going to happen one bit. You know, so, like, it's just that division right there. I don't know about it. I really don't. It's like I'm scratching my head. Like, what do you do with this division right here? It's bad to me.
I just see no reason to make DC sit and maybe make Gus against Evans for the next shot. But like I said, I think Bader talked himself into a title shot with that skirmish with DC at the post-fight presser.
No, you're right. He did, but is that good enough to draw people to watch that fight? And I want to say no, because, like, there was shout out Adam Hunter, MMA roasted MMA comedian, but, like, he retweeted Bader's he tweeted out during that fight. I don't know if you caught that, but he's like, "Oh, I want to be next in line." He basically said, "I want to be next in line because I'm, like, the number one contender since DC pretty much backed out, and we were supposed to fight in July." And, like, you just see, like, the smear of tweets coming from that. And, like, I kind of agree. It's like, wait, hold on a second. You just can't walk in like that. And, like, Bader's not a Conor McGregor. Bader's not a Chael Sonnen. Bader, he doesn't have that charisma to me to where, like, oh, man, like, I want to watch this. Knowing that, like, maybe in the back of my head, like, you know, Conor McGregor's going to get his ass kicked by Aldo. But the fact of the matter is, like, Bader does not have the fucking charisma to hypify up like Conor McGregor or what Chael Sonnen did. You know, I think that's just going to be terrible for the UFC in that light heavyweight division, personally.
He might not have the shit-talking Conor or Sonnen has, but he does, in my opinion, legitimately have the strongest argument for getting a shot.
You know what? I guess you're right. Maybe I can't deny that. Like, legitimately, reluctantly, he does. Just the way that division is just. That division is terrible, man. I'm sorry to say it. That whole lightweight division is terrible. Even, like, with John Jones being there, being the greatest of all time and stuff like that, he's the one that made that division. Somehow they got to figure this out. Like, I honestly, rematch. I mean, maybe DC and Bader. But the other thing too is Dana White. I think he even, like, said, like, after UFC 187, like, the next day, that, like, John Jones will get that immediate title shot. But I would still like to see John Jones and Gus too. You got, to me, it's like you gotta get more people to love the light heavyweight division. I don't think a lot of people love the light heavyweight division, in my opinion. After Liddell left, Rampage was gone. You got OSP want to campaign fight for Rampage Jackson in Tennessee. That's gonna be a good fight right there, because that's a good card. That's intriguing and stuff like that.
Bader beat both of them.
Well, okay, no, I got you. I got you, but you still have something there. Yeah, I know. But you still have something there to draw more people to watch the light heavyweight division in that card. So OSP's campaign against Rampage Jackson, I'll watch that fight. Then if they somehow campaign for Johnson and Gus too, like if it was $100 pay-per-view, I'd pay $200 for that one, because it's just an intriguing fight. But it's now like DC is the champion, and like you have a soft spot for DC and stuff like that. But I guess you put Bader. Yeah, I guess you could. But what good is that going to do for the UFC? I don't think Bader's name draws that much attention to where I gotta buy this pay-per-view card. That's where I'm getting on that one. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Yeah. It's just like there's nothing you could do. It's like there's something you could do in that light heavyweight division, but they need to figure that one out. Like I don't like how it's going. And the other thing too was Bader didn't even want. You know what Bader said on the post fight with Ariel Helwani? Like, did you ever watch that one?
What'd he say?
Did you catch that?
No.
He said that, like, I want to fight DC. I don't care if it's for the title now. I want to fight him. It's like, dude, like, what the fuck you doing? You had the clip was only 3 minutes long. You had 3 minutes to campaign for your fucking title shot, and you say you don't want the fucking title shot? I'm stealing something for Chael Sonnen. You're a fucking punk, dude. You are a punk. If you're not in there to fight for a fucking title, why the fuck are you in the UFC, Ryan Bader? God.
Davey boy with a hot take. One thing I will agree with you on is I don't think Ryan Bader, he's good, but I think Cormier beats him easy. I think Rumble beats him easy. I think Gus beats him easy. I think Jones beats him easy. Yeah. Dude, we could see some shit and Bader win the belt and all fucking go nude and streak across the Bellagio fountains. I don't know.
I'm not. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, what if Bader wins that fight? What good is that going to do to the UFC if Bader beat a champion? That's not going to do the UFC any good.
Yeah, but there are a lot of guys who they win the belt, and it's like, what good does Cain Velasquez being champ? He's not really the most marketable guy in the world.
Yeah, well, I think his situation's a little different because, like, I think it's just like the way he fights and stuff, and like goes 5 rounds. Personally, like, I think his situation's a little different than Bader's. Like, Bader is not championship material to me when it comes to like going into the cage, fighting in the octagon. Cain Velasquez is, like, he is. And plus, there's a market for Cain Velasquez, in Mexico too. So, like, you can promote him as a champion for those reasons. How are you going to promote Ryan Bader? What, send him to fucking Arizona? Who the fuck? Elaw, I'm sorry, dude. I'm going to say this. Shout out to Elaw. He's from Arizona. Who the fuck wants to go to Arizona to watch Ryan Bader fight for the fucking championship? I don't want to see that shit.
Is Rashad Evans still alive at this point? I'm not sure injured. Whether we can.
He's still injured.
Like, is he living? Like, has anyone heard from him in the last year? In the words of the great Ramses,
there's also a chance that he's dead.
I think Rashad Evans might actually be dead. I haven't heard from him in a hot minute.
He needs to move down to middleweight. Hands down, he can make middleweight. He needs to move down. Personally,
Cormier could probably make 185. Shit, that would be some shit. DC against Weidman. That would be a fun fight.
Yeah, that would. Ooh, see, Man, that would be that. But DC has to get more fights. If he stays like, let's say theoretically, he beats John Jones, just keeps the title and stuff like that. I think we need more fights. Let's just say, like him beating John Jones and maybe getting a rematch, beating John Jones again. Then you could talk about a super fight from that point on. If Weidman's legitimacy as a middleweight champion after beating Rockhold and then Jacare afterwards, like you can't deny tying in a super fight from that point on. Middleweight champion against light heavyweight champion, and they're both wrestlers. You have a market, you have the hype, you have the media for that one.
That would be very fun. I think we're starting to cycle out into far out. What is the word I'm looking for? Far out hypotheticals. So you know what, people. That was our UFC 187 breakdown. We have only one or two bits of news, and then we'll break down Condit versus Alves. Let's get to the news, people. We had a tweet coming from Ronda Rousey, going from bitch Correia to Ronda Rousey. Some very strong words. I'm looking for it now. This is what bitch Correia tells Combate, I guess is the name of it. It's a Brazilian fighting magazine. Quote, Ronda talks about being a superwoman, a hero, but as a woman like me. Actually, I'm way stronger. I come from an underdeveloped country where people fight to survive. It's a lot different from the reality of her life. Under pressure, she's showing she's weak. When mommy put some pressure, she ran away from home. When she lost, she did drugs. That's not a superhero. I want to see her reaction when I put some pressure against her. I want to feel pressure and realize that I'm ready to fight her. She doesn't have a good head. She needs to get help. There are a lot of people around her. She's winning. But when she realizes that's not everything, I don't know what might happen. I hope she doesn't commit suicide. Which, that these comments are very, very distasteful when that Ronda's father committed suicide when Rousey was a kid. Rousey responds with a lot of class, considering, saying, quote, suicide is no joke or selling point. My father will be with me the day I hand you the comeuppance you deserve. And then bitch responds saying, oh, she didn't know that her dad killed herself, quoting, here, let me find the quote, saying, quote, I was just showing her weak psychology for sports. I knew her father had died when she was a kid, but I didn't know he committed suicide. I smell bullshit. I think that bitch knew. I mean, she spells out things in Ronda's past very specifically, saying that, oh, well, when mom put pressure on her, she ran away and she lost and she did drugs. She obviously knows Ronda's background, and I think after she made the suicide comment and saw the fan backlash and realized how distasteful it was, I think she kind of ate her own words. I don't believe the whole thing. Oh, I didn't know about this whole thing with her dad. That's the first thing that pops out from Ronda's past. So that she ran away from home and had a past with bulimia and did drugs after the Olympics, but you didn't know about the huge story about her childhood. I don't know. It just rings false.
Come on, bitch.
Come on, bitch, Correia.
Come on, bitch. You know what? She would have been fine if she would have made that suicide comment. That whole rant on Combate would have been fine. When she made that suicide comment, it was all over for that one. And for her, she could have kind of argued to say, she didn't know that Ronda's dad committed suicide. But then when she came out with the remarks like, I knew her father died, but I didn't know it was from suicide. Yes, the fuck you did. You shouldn't even said that either. You should have just you should have just said like, oh, I didn't know her father died or something.
It's like saying, that. Oh, I knew the Twin Towers fell, but I didn't know it was a terrorist incident. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but you know what though? I mean, I think the mentality of how we perceive like suicide and stuff like that is probably in America, even in Guam, is probably maybe a little bit different. You know, of being in Brazil. Like, you could probably get away with saying something like that in Brazil and it being offensive, but it being, what's the word I could say? Being, I guess, not, I hate to use this word, accepted.
Being passable, you know? Yeah,
exactly. You know, versus here, especially, you know, with the fight with the fight happening in like more of the media stream being in America, like we're gonna take that more seriously. It's like, dude, that's kind of fucked up. Like, that's, how dare you? You know, sorry, I'm doing like a lot of how dare yous from Joe Rogan podcast and stuff, but how dare you, bitch? How dare you for fucking saying some shit like that? You know, like any American would I think personally would be on the side of Ronda on that one. But like for Brazilians, it's passive to them. I think it could be something passive, like he committed suicide.
How dare you?
Yeah. You know.
How dare I?
I don't know. How dare I? How dare I? So yeah, come on, bitch. You know what? You need to just fly over to Vegas and go see Lorenzo and Dana and suck your way back in to their good graces. Suck your way back in, bitch. Suck your way back in.
Powerful.
That's right. Some powerful shit from Davey Boy. Yeah, Ronda is going to wipe the floor with this bitch. Moving on, Bendo.
But that was wrong though. I mean, sorry, but that was wrong. Now you got someone motivated. Like, we talk about, like, you know, Alexis.
Yeah, seriously, this is the last person you would have pissed the fuck off. Oh my god.
This is the one where, like, I'm gonna be jumping up, like, watching this fight. I'm like, oh my god, like, this has to end in 1 second. This has to end in 1 second. Like, oh my god, like, you just have to wait for that moment. Like,
Ronda's gonna be standing in that fucking corner, like.
Oh man, dude! Like, this is one of the fights where I'm gonna be jumping. I'm like, oh my god! Like, this has to end in 2 seconds. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Yes.
Yeah, seriously. Ronda's gonna fuck her up. Bendo apparently was saying he's gonna move up to welterweight and stay there. Maybe this is a good move. I don't know. We've only seen one fight out of Ben at 170, and it was a amazing fight. He took a very bright prospect in Brandon Thatch and demolished him, just steamrolled him. I guess he's staying there, and man, you know, I usually think that most fighters, if you can comfortably cut to a weight, that's where you should fight. But I don't know, Ben has always looked extremely slender at 155. You know, he's a little short for a welterweight, but I think he could crack the top 10. I don't know if he could get past a guy who just towers over him like a Rory McDonald. I don't know.
Benson Henderson going from being the WEC interim lightweight champion and then being the UFC lightweight champion.
Defending it 4 times.
Yeah, and moving up to welterweight when you have a slew of top 10 welterweight contenders: Matt Brown, Carlos Condit, Thiago Alves. Who else am I missing here? Rory McDonald, Johnny Hendricks, Robbie Lawler. Who else am I missing here? Who else? Like, I know I'm missing some people here, but. All right, but not to go on more and more about like who's in the top 10 or whatever, but Jake Ellenberger, I mean, he's kind of in the top 10, but
I think he beats up Ellenberger.
I think it'll be a good fight. I don't think he's gonna beat Ellenberger decisively. I think it'd be a good fight that'd be a good fight. That'd be a real good fight. But do I see Bendo cracking the top 10? No, I do not see Bendo cracking the top 10. He had one fight in the welterweight division, and it was against a welterweight prospect by the name of Brandon Thatch, who, and I'm going to give you a chance again, Brendan Schaub, who was hyped by Brendan Schaub. Brendan Schaub. I'm still giving you a chance, Brendan Schaub. I promise. Okay. And you see how easily Bendo won that fight against a welterweight prospect. Now, do you honestly see him cracking the top 10 on that one? I don't see it. I mean, maybe build him up. Maybe he just realized that he's not gonna fight for a title, and he's gonna move up and just fight some people that can be intriguing. Like, I would like to see Jake Ellenberger and Benson Henderson fight. I think that'd be a good fight. I can't say Jake Ellenberger is gonna lose or win or anything like that. I just think that'd be a good fight. Who else? Maybe Ryan LaFleur. He's a prospect coming up too. You know what? Damian Maia. I would like to see him and Damian Maia fight. I think it's going to be more groundwork than a stand-up, but it's still going to be exciting. Like, that would be a good fight right there. Damian Maia, Jake Ellenberger, Ryan LaFleur. But him to try to crack the top 10, fuck no. Just no. I'm sorry. Benson Henderson, I love you, buddy. I love you. But, no.
Yeah, this is one of those stories that I don't know, man. I want to hate it, but I'm like, I don't know. Bendo's good. I hope he does well. I don't want to think negative things about him, but yeah, I think he's very small for 170. I think he has a chance to thrive there. I don't think he has a chance to be champion. I think he has a chance to be the lightweight champ again, even though that window is very small. I don't, he had his run. I don't know if he ever gets the belt back. You have guys now at lightweight in Dos Anjos who beat him, Pettis who beat him, Cerrone who would probably be a favorite against him, Habib who would definitely be a favorite against him. Maybe this is just Bendo realizing his role now is as a gatekeeper, and he doesn't want to keep killing himself to make 155 pounds.
But then he rather gets cracked by killers in the head. I don't know, Jake. I think what he fucked up. Bendo fucked up by making that word saying he's permanently moving up to welterweight. To be honest with you, Pez is gone. Pez is gonna be gone for a while. That lightweight division is still stacked, and Bendo's name in that lightweight division still would work for somebody, to hype up the fight for Dana Lorenzo, for anybody. But for him to go up to welterweight, you're like, I will feel so bad if you get knocked out. It'd be like one of those moments. Like, he could still fight Khabib. He could still fight, Cerrone, in my opinion. I think that'd be a good trifecta right there. He could still, fight some people in the lightweight division. He could fight Miles Jury. His name is still relevant in the lightweight division, but the welterweight division, I don't think so, man. He's not going to crack the top 10. He'll be a fringe top 15 fighter ranked, but to crack the top 10, I don't think so, man.
Yeah, it'll take a lot, and man, we are 2.5 hours in. Let's quickly break down this Condit Alves card and get the fuck out of here. We're only going to break down the co-main and main event fights because honestly, we're already gone way too fucking long, and B, this is sort of a shallow card, and I don't know if all of the fights deserve a breakdown. Really quick, if you want all of my picks, I'm taking Tom Breeze, Juliana Lima, Mirsad Bektik, Nicholas Dalby, Hussier Formiga, Hani Jason, Darren Till, Norman Park, Ryan Jimmo, and KJ Nunes. Those are all of my picks leading up to the main and co-main event. And in the co-main event, we get a rematch from a fight that's almost 4 years old, where Nick Lentz and Charles Oliveira met up at that classic Congo versus Barry card, the main event being one of the best fights ever in the Octagon. Originally, Oliveira won the fight via submission, but the result was overturned when the commission realized that the main reason Oliveira was able to sink in that sub was because he landed an illegal knee. Lentz was grounded. Oliveira landed a knee, which you obviously aren't allowed to land a knee to a grounded opponent. The fight was turned over to a no contest, and it is the only no contest on both fighters' record. This back in June 2011. Finally getting a rematch. I wanted to see an immediate rematch, but instead Oliveira, after the fight, was put into a fight against Donald Cerrone 2 months later, which he lost. Lentz put into a fight against Mark Bocek a few months later, which he lost. Both guys eventually moved down to featherweight. The original fight was actually a lightweight fight at 155. This fight is going to be a featherweight fight at 145. And I don't know. Nick Lentz in the books, in the Vegas books, is quite an underdog. He's plus 240, which surprises me. I think Nick Lentz is much better than a lot of people think. He's 4-1 since losing to, or since moving down to 145. His only loss is against Chad Mendes, who's shit.
In decision.
Chad Mendes could take the belt away from Conor McGregor or Jose Aldo. Like, he is a very good fighter. Yeah, and it went the full three rounds. Lentz is a beast. Oliveira shares the same trait, where since moving down, he's 5-2, and his only 2 losses are against elite fighters, Cub Swanson and Frankie Edgar. So we're looking at 2 featherweights who are tremendously underrated. Nick has only lost to Mendes. Oliveira has only lost to Edgar and Swanson. Both of these guys are beasts. The first fight kind of ended weird. You can't blame Oliveira for the accidental strike, but it was rightfully turned over to a no contest. I'm taking the underdog here. I'm taking Nick Lentz. What about you?
I'm going to take Nick Lentz too on this fight. Just to go back though, I saw this on Fox Sports 1. How they're hyping up Condit versus Alves, and then next you know they do like a 5-second synopsis on Nick Lentz and Charles Oliveira's fight, just like how they hyped up the fight. I want to be honest with you, Jake. I mean I'd like them, but I don't care for them to be in the co-main event. I see this card to be a fucking disaster, to be honest with you, man. Like, this card blows. I mean, it's not the worst card, but this card is bad.
It does suck. It does suck, okay? And for you to, like, try to, like, you know, hype up Nick Lentz against Charles Oliveira on a controversial result, what the fuck are you doing, UFC? What the fuck are you guys doing? You know, you have no freaking, not gonna say no experience, but like you don't know how to, do you guys know how to promote a fucking fight? You know, you guys know how to promote main events and stuff like that, you know, and this is your guys' fault signing that fucking Fox deal where you had to have like 40 cards in a year and you can't fucking figure out how to like build people up to where like they're these great fighters to where like you can hype them in the fucking co-main event. Like at the end of the day, they're great fighters, but in the co-main event, who the fuck is Charles Oliveira and Nick Lentz?
You got the fucking Carney just trying to hype up the fights. They're great fighters. Like I was pulling for Lentz to beat Mendez on a fucking shocker, but Lentz took him 3 rounds. Like who's done that to Chad Mendez? He's a top contender. Charles Oliveira, he is a top contender. But what have you guys done to their fucking careers to make them that extravagant to be in a co-main event? Fucking nothing. Fuck you, UFC. You girl. But I can't wait for that Condit and Alves fight though.
we will move on. Condit versus Alves. I'll let you break it down for us. To me, it seems like a very one-sided fight, but it seems like you're a little more pumped for it than I am.
I like it because everyone loves Carlos Condit. Everyone loves how he fights. He stands in the pocket. He could sub people. He could knock people out with knees, hands. I mean, look what he did to Dong Young Kim. Look what he did to Dan Hardy. Look what he's tapped people out too as well. In the WEC. Like, he is a great fighter, and there's a market for not Martin Kampmann, but Carlos Condit. There is a market for him now. But here's the thing, guys. The guy's coming off a fucking knee injury. He's been gone for a little bit over a year against Tyron Woodley. And do you honestly think that he's going to walk over Alves? I don't think so. I don't think Alves is going to lose this fight. I do not think Alves is going to lose this fight, hands down. I think Alves is going to chop him down in his legs and stuff like that. I mean, and not to say it's going to be intentional to test out that knee or anything like that. I think Alves is going to chop him down. I think the only thing that you can possibly say that Condit could do is take him down and try to sub him. The guy fights for American Top Team, and I guarantee you, the same fighter that you saw in Alves not having a ground game and stuff like that, it's going to be different. He trains at a fucking great gym, and now he has his freaking weight down. Now he knows how to cut weight easily. He's with Mike Dolce and stuff like that. I'm picking the underdog, and I know for a fact Alves is an underdog, and I'm going to say Alves is going to win this fight. I can't say it's going to be by decision or submission I can't, but I think Alves is going to win this fight, and it's just going to suck for Condit because everyone's hyping him up for his return, and he's going to lose. That is what's going to happen.
I disagree. I think this is Condit's fight.
Motherfucker.
Easily. I think you look at Alves, and the guy can get outstruck. GSP outstruck him. Rick Story outstruck him. Martin Kampmann outstruck him until subbing him out. Carlos Condit, it really seems like his only weakness is against a very, very stiff wrestler who can take him down and dominate him, a.k.a., GSP, Johnny Hendricks, Woodley. Condit has been taken down, I think, 28 times in his last 4 fights. That's a lot of takedowns, but a lot of, most of those are against GSP and Johnny. Tiago, both of these guys are guys who haven't seen a lot of ring time compared to most other welterweight fighters. You have Condit. This is his first fight in a year and 3 months since injuring his knee at UFC 171 against Woodley. Alves, this is his 3rd fight since he took over 2 years off after the Kampmann fight. I don't know. These are 2 fighters who I think their window of being champion is closed. I don't see either guy progressing far enough to be champ. I think they both had the chance earlier, and they both fought GSP for the belt and lost. I don't know. Condit, the only weakness he's shown is against wrestlers, and I don't think Tiago is the kind of guy who's going to be able to take him down and win the fight.
But you see, my thing is this: you're not taking into consideration how long his layoff is. I think that's a huge factor. I mean, and I go back to John Dodson. I think if anything, maybe he could have knocked out Zach McCoskey if he had a string of wins before his knee injury. If he never had that knee injury, I think he would have still been seasoned. In I don't know. I think ring rust plays a big fucking toll, and that's my worry with Carlos Condit. I think he has ring rust, and maybe they're thinking okay, we're gonna have to match him up with somebody. We're gonna match him up with Thiago Alves, and I think they're kind of making Thiago Alves look like the underdog. He's like the sacrificial lamb. That's how I feel about it, and I completely disagree with that one. I think Thiago Alves. Now, I'm not saying he's a contender, but he's still, in the mix in the rankings. He body kicked Jordan fucking Means. You watched that UFC 183 fight? I was like, ouch. I don't know. Thiago's been fighting. He's been fighting the octagon. He's been injury free. He's been doing his thing and stuff like that. Versus Carlos Condit going through rehab, trying to get back in the fighting shape, back in the training, stuff like that. I think ring rust is going to be a big factor in this one, and I think it's going to show in this fight. I'm going Alves.
But ring rust or not, don't you think Condit has those tools?
Don't you think Alves has those tools either? Besides, okay, never mind. You know what? I take that back. Besides the ground game and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't see how people are counting Alves out of this fight. That's my problem with this one. How are they counting Thiago Alves out of this fight? It just mind boggles me. Thiago Alves can't stand toe to toe with those fighters. I really think he can. And going back to the other thing too, I'm pretty sure Thiago Alves, being Brazilian, he probably has a black belt to himself, but he just shows off more of his stand up than anything. I want to see crushing. I want to see the old Thiago back. I want to see crushing leg kicks like what he did to Josh Koscheck. Those were killer. What he did against Matt Hughes, that double flying knee, knocking him out. I want to see those fights, and I think it's going to be an exciting fight. I think it's going to be an exciting fight because of the hype that I feel there's around it. But I don't see it's being a lopsided victory for Carlos Condit. I think everyone's counting out Thiago Alves, and I think they should stop right there.
So, I don't know. It sounds like to me we need to make another bet. We made a bet for what was the fight on UFC 186 we made a bet for, I think.
Yeah, it was a Medesi fight. I say he was going to beat that one guy that I was just going for. I don't know. We'll figure that one out. That fight's on Saturday, too. Oh, you're going to have to figure that one out.
Follow us on Twitter between now and Saturday, which I guess in the next 36 hours, a bet will be made. I have Condit. You have Thiago. Yep. Anything else before I start playing the music?
Nah, we're good, man. Just want to give a few shots again to anybody that's a part of Team MMA for life, and give quick shout outs to my MMA family again. Otis, Loso Rocks, Kobe Poppy, Jen, Lindsay, P Tweet. Give a shout out to you guys on that one. Also, Mac from Australia. Gotta give a shout out to Waldo Mac. Forgot about you, buddy. The Keyboard Warriors, Stand and Bang, E-Law, Nicky Nick, Fred Kirby, Doc Robbins. Go to Stand and Bang Radio. They got some white hot shit going on over there too. Some up and coming fighters. Listen
white hot takes.
White hot, fucking Elias Diodoro, Canadian Fabio, and Smiling Sam Alvey. Get their podcast, goddammit.
Gotta love Smiling Sam. Shout out to Davey Boy. It's funny, before we went live, I'm like, yeah, I'll probably aim for an hour and a half, but me and Dave just bounce off each other so well. We did a 2-hour, 45-minute show tonight. Who else? Shout out. Yeah, shout out to Westland Eagle and his sensitive ass bladder. I swear to God, driving to Vegas and back, the dude had to stop every hour and a half to relieve himself. I personally have a leather-bound satchel of a bladder, and I only need to stop every 5 hours or so to piss, even though I'm slugging down water. Man, I slugged down a ton of water that Friday night where I drank all that Jameson. Shout out to Wes Lynn for leading me from passing out in the chair of the desk to my bed. I was sloppy on Friday. Shout out to, of course, the group text me, Ross Yao, Hunter Allen. I love the shit out of y'all. Shout out to Ramses. For real, I hope you feel better soon, buddy. I hope we can get you back on a future show. Chris Lowe, the original host at C. Lowenstein, that beautiful bitch. And I'm not kidding. If you do not follow Kevin Black, our boy Scottish Fedor, you are missing out. He is on Twitter at Technics88, TECHNICKS88. The motherfucker, he's like Fedor if Fedor, instead of being like a quiet, reserved pussy, was outgoing and drank a shitload and was funny as fuck. Kevin Black, one of my favorite people who listens to the show. Bill the Butcher, who else? A Girly MMA. I was just tweeting her about AHL hockey. Which, Jesus Christ, if you want to rustle my jimmies, be a hot chick who is into semi-pro hockey, Jesus Christ. Who else? Super Calo, FRB, Filthy Tom Lawler. Listen to the Filthy FRB show. Follow our friend Snacks Geller, Adam Geller, who had the most hilarious video. Search UFC 166, I guess, weigh-in rehearsal. I don't know. We love the shit out of everyone who listens to the show, honestly. We got the outro playing. It's the end of the song. If I missed you, I'm sorry. There are so many people. The Enthusiast, Don Enrique, Tyler Smith. Who else? So fucking many of you. We get so much.
Fuck.
I love you. If you are listening, I love you. This is to you. We'll see you next week, cocksucker.
Tune into the MMA Podcast.
We gone.
My God,
Bitches.
Bitch, please.
The MMA Podcast. Jake is the host, and since Ramsey's been in the wheelchair, the Aunt Jimmy Show has been on the road. I wanna say John Jones is the host, so I think that I'll pick up the phone and dial 213-457-3380. We got hot takes on the stove. You get blood on your clothes if you're sitting in the front row. I throw on my gi and then I lace the hoops. I'll have Gal lying down cause he ain't the truth. And if Alan wasn't a cop, I'd mention you. Shout out to Ross Finkelstein the Jew. Cause according to you, you're an MMA guru. Approved Bisbing lost his hands count Dooku. If you're a fancy boy, you get a 2-minute slot. Mystery wants a title shot. So listen to the MMA Podcast. Throw a high kick, but I block that. Call me T-Ass, screaming George, where you at? I want the strap. But you know that I'll never tap. So listen to the MMA Podcast. Throw a high kick, but I block that. Call me T-Ass, screaming George, where you at? I want the strap. And you know that I won't tap. Mystery. The MMA Podcast. Most of us just live and breathe this fighting shit.
It's either blue cheese or wings. Go fuck your mother. That's your next shirt, alright? Shut up, Jake.
Cocksuckers. Cocksuckers. Cocksuckers.